Chapter 1. March 16th, an auspicious day. Today was King Ding Yuan's wedding day. The sounds of drums and firecrackers filled the air. The 10-mile-long street was filled with people watching the fun. King Ding Yuan. Didn't he just marry the country protector Great General Chen's eldest daughter, young Miss Chen, 3 days ago? I heard that young Miss Chen fell sick in bed after marrying into the family and her life was in danger, so second Miss Chen took the initiative to marry King Ding Yuan as a concubine to help young Miss Chen. What concubine? It sounds nice, but she's just a concubine. Help the family. Humph, that's just a cover-up. Who doesn't know that King Ding Yuan likes the second Miss Chen, but he and young Miss Chen were engaged when they were young, so he had no choice but to marry her. Everyone says that young Miss Chen fell sick as soon as she married into the family, but who knows if she was really sick or if she was harmed by King Ding Yuan and the second Miss Chen. Sho! You can even say this kind of thing, quickly shut up. The whispers of the people on the street did not reach King Ding Yuan's Chu Xiaoyang's ears. Chu Xiaoyang was currently standing in front of the palace with a smile on his face, waiting for the large red sedan to arrive. He was wearing a large red embroidered python robe with a golden belt around his waist, making him look even more like a jade. He was tall and handsome, with a smile on his face. Around him, the guests continued to pray, creating a very joyous scene. In a remote courtyard of the King Ding Yuan Palace, on a wooden bed, there was a dying young girl lying on it. She was the young Miss Chen who had just married into the King Ding Yuan Palace 3 days ago, Chen Ning. Hearing the joyous sounds coming from outside, Chen Ning opened her eyes and a trace of unwillingness flashed in her eyes. She struggled to stand up, but she suddenly fell down. She spat out a mouthful of blood and stopped breathing. When the Chen family's second miss entered the door, the Chen family's young miss passed away, her soul leaving the heavens. Quang Dang. When the maid Xiao Ru who had just brought the water in saw this scene, she was scared out of her wits and the copper basin in her hand fell to the ground. She threw herself over Chen Ning's body and began to cry. Young miss. You can't die, you can't leave Xiao Ru alone. Xiao Ru laid on top of Chen Ning's body crying her heart out. See. The unmoving Chen Ning on the bed suddenly let out a cry of pain. She held her chest and slowly opened her eyes, staring at Xiao Ru. Little girl, you're hurting me. Xiao Ru raised her head in surprise. She gave a sob and sob. A corpse. Swindle, swindle, swindle. She was so scared that her whole body was trembling and her tongue was tied. Xiao 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 Qin. Chen Ning, who had just crossed over, couldn't help rolling her eyes. She angrily slapped Xiao Ru. I'm not a zombie, I'm faking my death. Oh, no, I'm not dead at all. Young miss, you're not dead. Xiao Ru was pleasantly surprised and excited. The scum and cheap woman aren't dead yet, how could I be willing to die? A strange light flashed in Chen Ning's eyes. The current Chen Ning was no longer the same Chen Ning. Her soul was no longer the obedient and bullied young Miss Chen, but rather the memory master Chen Ning from the modern era who had the title of Memory King. She had already received the memories of the original Chen Ning. The real Chen Ning, on their wedding night, after drinking a bowl of bird's nest porridge, she spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Then she was thrown into this old wooden hut by King Ding Yuan Chu Xiaoyang. He announced that the young Miss Chen was dying and that he was busy marrying the second Miss Chen. Chen Ning looked into the sky and tightly clenched her fists. Chapter 2. First bow to the heaven and earth, second bow to your parents, husband and wife bow to each other. With the official's loud voice, a pair of new people wearing red brocade clothes stood in the wedding hall, bowing to each other. The groom Chu Xiaoyang's cold face revealed a smile. Looking at the slim bride with a red veil covering her face, his eyes were filled with tenderness. The ceremony is complete. The newlyweds are sent into the bridal room. Very good, he really came in time. Chen Ning's lips curled into a faint smile. She took a step forward and entered the wedding hall. Wait. If the newlyweds are sent into the bridal room, what should I, the old one, do? Her voice was clear and pleasant, with a bit of teasing in it, but it made the smile on Chu Xiaoyang's face turn stiff. Her sudden appearance at the entrance of the wedding hall and her ambiguous words immediately attracted the attention of the guests. They saw that Chen Ning was wearing a luxurious red dress. Her hair was tied up in a high bun and she was wearing a sparkling gold pearl crown, looking very imposing. But when everyone saw her face, their eyes almost popped out. Who is this girl? She's too ugly. Her eyebrows are like brooms, her mouth is like a bloody mouth, and her face is like a monkey's butt. How can the word ugly be used? It's simply ugly enough to cry. It's not her fault that she's ugly, but coming out to scare people when she's this ugly, that's her fault. Everyone looked away. No one was willing to look at her a second time. Xiao Ru was filled with grievance and anger. She could not understand why the young miss was so beautiful, but she had to make herself look ugly, attracting the ridicule of all these people. Chen Ning narrowed her eyes in satisfaction and revealed a faint smile. Very good, this was the effect she wanted. It wasn't a waste of all the ugly makeup she had done for herself. Chu Xiaoyang was also shocked by her appearance. He took in a cold breath and loudly shouted without even thinking, where did this ugly monster come from? Someone, quickly throw her out for this king. I want to see who dares. Chen Ning raised her thick black brows. With an overbearing aura, she immediately stopped the servants that were about to make a move. Her gaze swept across the faces of the guests. Although her face was painted so that her original features could not be seen, her eyes were like limpid autumn waters, clear and bright. Such clear eyes. Everyone who made eye contact with her felt their hearts tremble. Today is the day that Your Highness is marrying a concubine. As someone who has only been married for 3 days, I have come to congratulate Your Highness and your new sister and ask for a cup of wine to drink. This isn't against the rules, right? Why didn't Wang Ya ask someone to drive me out without any reason? In front of everyone's eyes, Chen Ning remained calm. She walked to the main seat and sat down in an arrogant manner. As soon as her voice fell, everyone went into an uproar. Young Miss Chen. She's Miss Chen. Someone in the crowd cried out involuntarily. What young Miss Chen? She is now King Ding Yuan's official Ding Yuan princess. That's right. The new bride is her biological sister. She's married over to be a concubine. Isn't it said that Miss Chen is dying of illness? Ding ding chen ding she and to will. That's right, the new bride is her blood-related little sister. She's married over to be a concubine. My God, this young Miss Chen's appearance is truly ugly. How could our handsome King Ding Yuan stand it? Chapter 3. The guests all began to whisper as they continued to discuss in low voices. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes stared right at Chen Ning sitting in the main seat. The smile on his face disappeared and there was only a cold look left in his eyes. He recognized her. The girl sitting in the main seat with makeup that was even more exaggerated than the actors on the stage, was really the Ding Yuan princess that he had married 3 days ago, young Miss Chen. Chu Xiaoyang's face instantly became very ugly. He never would have dreamed that the sick Chen Ning on her last breath, not only did she not die, she even ran to his wedding hall. Wearing an ugly crying face, she asked him to drink his wedding wine. His eyes once again fell onto Chen Ning's face. The corner of his eyes couldn't help twitching as he muttered in his heart. When he married her 3 days ago, although he did not even look at her once, he had never heard that the Guo protecting family's young Miss Chen was an ugly monster. Bai Yun was her blood-related little sister and was known as the capital's #1 beauty. Even if she was ugly as an older sister, she shouldn't be this ugly, right? His eyes met with Chen Ning's. Chen Ning curled her lips at him, revealing a smile that wasn't a smile. Chu Xiaoyang was stunned and then he flew into a rage. She did it on purpose. She had purposely put on such ugly makeup. Her intention in doing this was to fiercely throw Chu Xiaoyang's face in front of all the guests. In less than a day, the shocking news of the Dingyuan princess is an ugly monster would spread to every corner of the capital city like it had grown wings. And he, Chu Xiaoyang, would become the laughing stock of the entire city. Thinking about him, Chu Xiaoyang, he was a famous handsome man in the capital. He was the powerful King Dingyuan and was the dream of countless young girls. If everyone knew that his princess was an ugly monster, this shame, even if he married 10 beautiful concubines, it would not be able to make up for it. She was ruthless, truly ruthless. This move of hers was equivalent to throwing Chu Xiaoyang's face onto the streets of the capital, allowing everyone to step on it. Chu Xiaoyang's face went from red to white, from white to green, and from green to black. It was very wonderful. He forcefully grinded his teeth and his eyes were filled with flames as he stared at Chen Ning. If he had a knife in his hand, he would not hesitate to stab the other side's heart. But this was his wedding hall and all the guests were staring at him. Not only could he not kill her, he had to force a smile. He was so stifled that he almost spat out blood. Chen Ning calmly sat in the chair and smiled at him, taking in the expression on his face. This Chu Xiaoyang was not stupid, he could actually understand her meaning. However, this was only the first step. She had even more wonderful gifts for him. Chu Xiao Chen Ning's words. Aren't you sick? Why are you here instead of recuperating in the backyard? Hurry up and leave. Come. Chu Xiaoyang saw the guests looking at his princess like they were watching a monkey show, with faces filled with schadenfreude. He felt his face burning up and he was filled with shame. This eyesore woman, what he needed to do now was to make her disappear in front of everyone. Chen Ning blinked and revealed an innocent expression on her face. I just said, today is the wedding day of your highness and little sister, how could I not attend as the princess and elder sister? Not to mention being sick, even if I die, she deliberately dragged out her voice, I will climb out of my coffin and congratulate you too. Chapter 4. The darker Chu Xiaoyang's face became, the brighter Chen Ning's smile became. Your Highness, I'm truly sorry. I just received the good news that your Highness and little sister are getting married. I rushed over, but I was still late and missed the good show of you two bowing to each other. Shouldn't the two of you enter the bridal room? But before the two of you enter the bridal room, this elder sister would like to ask for a cup of tea from my little sister. Your Highness, do you mind? She said with a smile. Chu Xiaoyang finally came back to his senses. What did she come to the wedding hall for? Not only did she come to throw his face, she also came to make him feel disgusted. But, according to the West Chu customs, when a concubine entered the house, she had to offer tea to the main wife. Only after the main wife drank the tea would she acknowledge her status. In front of all the guests, Chen Ning's request was very reasonable and he could not reject it at all. Humph. Chu Xiaoyang gave a muffled snort as he agreed. He secretly clenched his fists and stared at Chen Ning with a dark gaze. This damn ugly monster. If she dared to play tricks during the tea ceremony and bully his most beloved woman, he would definitely kill her. Yun, go offer her a cup of tea. He softened his voice and gave a signal to Chen Bai Yun beside him. No matter how unwilling he was, he had to let Chen Bai Yun take this step. Otherwise, he would be breaking the West Chu customs and would be despised by everyone. Chen Bai Yun had a red veil over her head and could not see, but she could clearly hear the situation outside. She and Chen Ning were blood-related sisters, so she was more familiar with her voice than Chu Xiaoyang. When Chen Ning said the first sentence, she could hear it. Her body couldn't help trembling and her brows tightly knit together. Wasn't she about to die? How could she appear here alive? Moreover, her words were filled with energy, without a trace of someone about to die. But before she could understand what was going on, she heard Chen Ning confidently ask her to serve her tea. Her chest almost exploded with anger. She was so angry that her lungs almost exploded. Her original plan was very good. With Chen Ning's serious illness, even if she didn't die, she wouldn't last more than a few days. If she married over, although she would be a side concubine, once Chen Ning died, Chu Xiaoyang would immediately make her the official wife. At that time, she would be the official Ding Yuan princess. No one would be able to move this position and no one would fight with her for it. That was because that eyesore had already died a long time ago. Only, no matter how Chen Baiyun thought about it, she never would have thought that Chen Ning would appear alive in the wedding hall. She would even ask her to kneel down and offer tea to her. Chen Baiyun's teeth almost broke from gritting them, but she was not a fool. She knew that she had to offer this cup of tea in front of all the guests. She rolled her eyes, and a vicious glint flashed in her eyes. With the red scarf covering her face, no one could see the ruthlessness in her eyes. With the red veil covering her face, no one could see the fierce look in her eyes. Chen Baiyun was supported by the matron of honor as she gracefully walked forward. Her slender waist was like a white lotus swaying in the wind. Her voice was very soft, almost as if water could come out of it. Chen Ning watched her every move without blinking. Her eyes slightly looked down and just like Chu Xiaoyang, they fell onto her swaying waist. Her eyes flashed with a look of thought. The original owner of her body had grown up with Chen Baiyun. What kind of thoughts this white lotus-like little sister had, she was clearer than anyone else here. It was a pity that the original owner did not understand and always treated Chen Baiyun as her own little sister. She, Chen Ning, was not that easy to fool around with. Chapter 5. Chen Baiyun was stunned. She subconsciously covered her lower abdomen and took a step back. You people don't have good eyesight, quickly wiped the water off. If you fall on the concubine consort, see if His Highness won't skin you all alive. Chen Ning shouted at the servants on her left and right. The servants seemed like they had just woken up from a dream. They quickly came forward and wiped the golden brick floor in front of Chen Baiyun until it was completely clean. This ugly woman, what was she doing? Why would she be so kind as to remind Yun her? Chu Xiaoyang suspiciously looked at Chen Ning, but when he saw the two red balls on her face that looked like a monkey's butt, he looked away with a look of disgust. This damn ugly woman, she had actually made him lose face in his wedding hall. This grudge, he would remember it. Chen Baiyun's face under the red cloth couldn't help revealing a proud look. Chen Ning was still that stupid Chen Ning. She was already prepared to send her to meet the king of hell, but she was still this good to her. If she wasn't stupid, then what was? She once again stepped forward. This time she was very careful and each step was very steady. When she took the teacup from the matron of honor, her sleeves did not even tremble. Elder sister, please have some tea. She was prepared to kneel down in front of Chen Ning and follow the rules. She would raise the teacup high and take advantage of the fact that the other side was reaching out to take the teacup to pour the hot tea onto the other side's hands. Wanting to drink her tea, how could it be this easy? The corners of her mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Who would have thought that as soon as she bent her knees, Chen Ning would suddenly call out in surprise. Little sister, you can't. Chen Baiyun was stunned. Her knees unconsciously straightened and she did not kneel down. Chen Ning came down from the main seat and held Chen Baiyun's arms. She had a face of complaint as she said, Little sister, you're pregnant, why didn't you tell elder sister earlier? If elder sister knew you were pregnant, how could elder sister have made you kneel down to serve me tea? This is just a custom. Us sisters are not outsiders, so we don't have to follow this rule. Your Highness, don't you think so? Your Highness, you really are too careless. Little sister is pregnant and you still want her to kneel down to serve me tea. Aren't you trying to kill me? Her voice wasn't loud, and she spoke neither too fast nor too slow, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder in the clear sky, and everyone was stunned in an instant. The originally noisy wedding hall suddenly became very quiet, to the point that you could hear a pin drop. The guests all looked at each other in blank, suspecting that there was something wrong with their ears. Had they heard wrong? The bride who had just gone through the wedding ceremony was pregnant. This was simply like a thunderclap that resounded on a sunny day, and it caused everyone to be flabbergasted to the point they were crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. With a chong-langed sound, the teacup in Chin Bai Yun's hand fell to the ground and the hot tea splashed out, burning her foot. But she just stood there in a daze, not feeling any pain at all. Chu Xiao Yang's eyes. Chen's and his heart. Yang and his face, he have a back. The atmosphere in the wedding hall became heavy and strange. No one spoke, and no one even breathed loudly. None of them were able to react to this shocking news. Even Xiao Ru standing behind Qin Ning had a stunned expression on her face. Her eyes were wide open and her mouth was wide enough to fit a large duck egg in. Qin Ning's eyes swept over and she saw everyone's shocked expressions. She gently pursed her lips. Chapter 6. Actually being pregnant before marriage, in her era, it was not a big deal at all. Things like getting on the train first and then paying for the ticket were common, even big stars were no exception. But in the era that she had transmigrated to, if a girl was pregnant, the spit of everyone would be enough to drown her. Chen Baiyun, you've calculated everything, but you never would have thought that this day would come, right? Thinking of the original Qin Ning spitting out blood and the murderer who killed her standing here, stepping on her own sister's body to marry her brother-in-law, Qin Ning secretly gritted her teeth and a cold light flashed in the depths of her eyes. Qin Ning's eyes were filled with a cold light. Her gaze suddenly paused, landing on a person in the crowd, pausing for a moment. While the guests all had expressions like they had been struck by lightning, there was only one person who looked like he was watching a good show from the sidelines. It was a young man around 18 or 19 years old. He was currently lazily leaning against a chair and the guests around him were like stars surrounding the moon. He was wearing a luxurious purple brocade robe, making his face look as beautiful and flawless as jade. The gold and silver threads embroidered on his robe shined brightly, but in front of his peerless elegance, it became dim. His eyes slightly narrowed and his lazy gaze happened to meet Qin Ning's gaze. His pair of dark eyes that were as deep as the abyss revealed a profound glow. Then he curled his lips and revealed a faint smile at Qin Ning. It was like a spring breeze in the night, causing thousands of pear trees to bloom. When he smiled, the entire wedding hall became bright and beautiful in an instant. Even Qin Ning, who had seen countless people in her previous life, felt her eyes light up. A grown man, what was the point of looking so good? Monster, he was definitely a monster. Qin Ning couldn't help silently criticizing him. She moved her eyes away from the beautiful young man's face without leaving a trace. No matter how beautiful this monster youth was, it had nothing to do with her. He could not arouse her interest at all, but the playful look in his eyes had aroused her vigilance. Could it be that her intentions had been seen through by him? Qin Ning slightly knit her brows, but quickly relaxed them. She searched through the memories of the original owner and found that she did not know this monster youth. So she threw him to the back of her mind and ignored him. The person she needed to deal with now was Chu Xiaoyang. There was also that good little sister of hers who was as close as a brother. Your Highness, little sister, your marriage today is a joyous occasion. Little sister is pregnant and will soon have children for your highness. This is another joyous occasion, a double joyous occasion. As the princess and elder sister, I have to give the two of you a big gift. But I heard the news too late and came out in a hurry, so I didn't have time to prepare a gift. What should I do? Although I didn't drink little sister's tea, this gift has to be returned. Otherwise, wouldn't this princess be disrespectful? Chen Ning opened her mouth again. Her words were filled with grace and politeness, breaking the silence. She revealed a troubled expression, and then her eyes suddenly lit up. I've got it. Why don't I give this to my younger sister as a congratulatory gift? She raised her hand and took off the beautiful golden crown on her head. Without even looking at it, she threw it into Chen Baiyun's arms like she was throwing trash. Ah! Her actions caused the guests to go into an uproar. Chapter 7. Chen Baiyun instinctively caught it. Looking down at the red veil, she found that she was holding the Ding Yuan princess golden crown in her hands. She was filled with joy. Her depressed mood was suddenly swept away. She did not even hear the sarcasm in Chen Ning's words. Her hands were trembling with excitement. She couldn't be any clearer about what this golden crown meant. She had married him for this. Elder sister, this is too precious. Little sister can't take it, you have to return it to elder sister. Chen Baiyun said she would return it, but she was not willing to take it out. She tightly held on to the golden crown as her heart filled with joy. She had completely forgotten the embarrassing scene from before. Chen Ning's eyes fell onto her fingers that were tightly holding the golden crown and her lips revealed a playful smile. This isn't anything good. Since little sister likes it, then take it and play with it. She casually said as if what she had just thrown out was not the Ding Yuan princess golden crown, but rather a pile of trash. Chu Xiaoyang tightly clenched his fists and the veins on his forehead popped out. Chen Ning did not even look at him. She picked up the teapot on the table and poured herself a cup of tea. Then she slowly took a sip. At that moment, Chu Xiaoyang really wanted to charge forward and strangle her to death. This damn ugly woman. She actually threw away the Ding Yuan princess golden crown like it was trash. Although she didn't say a word, her meaning was clear and obvious. She did not care about the Ding Yuan princess position at all. Whoever wanted it could have it. This action was the same as giving him a fierce slap in the face in front of all the guests. Chu Xiaoyang's chin tightened and his eyes were so dark that they seemed like they were about to drip water. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared right at Chen Ning. What kind of person was he, King Ding Yuan Chu Xiaoyang? In this world, only he, Chu Xiaoyang, could dump people, but no one had ever treated him like trash and thrown him away like this. He could abandon her, but how could she abandon him? This woman, if she wasn't crazy, then she didn't want to live anymore. Chu Xiaoyang gritted his teeth and his chest began to heave up and down. He suddenly reached out to Chen Baiyun and shouted, "Yun her, give it to me." Chen Baiyun was filled with joy, but she was stunned when she heard this. "Your Highness, what do you want?" Her voice was still soft, but it could not hide the joy in it. "The golden crown." Chu Xiaoyang said word for word. "Your Highness." Chen Baiyun was shocked. She had just received the golden crown that represented her status as a princess. She hadn't even warmed it yet and it was about to be taken away from her hands. How could she be willing? Chu Xiaoyang always said what he said. Chu Xiaoyang always said. Chen Baiyun bit her lips and finally unwillingly handed over the golden crown. Chu Xiaoyang was also very helpless. If he could make the decision, he would have placed this golden crown on his beloved Chen Baiyun's head without any hesitation. Chu Xiaoyang was also very helpless. If he could make the decision, he would not have hesitated to give the golden crown to his most beloved woman, Chen Baiyun. Although he was King Ding Yuan, he could not casually take away her princess position and give the golden crown to someone else. That required the emperor's personal approval, otherwise how could he think of a trick like this to cover up her happiness? But he knew how much the emperor valued the Qin family, so he would not cripple Qin Ning no matter what. If he wanted Chen Baiyun to take the throne, then he had to kill Qin Ning. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes flashed with a cruel light. Even if she did not die today, she would die sooner or later. Chapter 8. Qin Ning's eyes floated over Chu Xiaoyang's face. She did not ignore his lowered brows and the deep hatred in his eyes. Very good, this cold man had finally been angered by her. She who came from the modern era was not only a memory master with the king of memory, she was also an expert in reading expressions. She could read a person's inner world from their expressions and even their body language. Although Chu Xiaoyang was restraining his anger and did not reveal it too clearly, the expression on his face betrayed his inner heart. When a person was angry to the extreme, their brows would be lowered, their eyes would be wide open, and their lips would be closed. Chu Xiaoyang had this kind of expression right now. He was like an enraged beast, ready to explode at any moment. If she didn't leave now, when would she? Qin Ning was not stupid enough to stay here and be an eyesore for him to vent his anger on. Only before she left, she still had to light a final fire. Your Highness, little sister, there is a good saying called, "A moment of beauty is worth 1,000 gold." I have already drunk this old friend's tea and given the gift, so I won't hinder you two from entering the bridal room. Qin Ning stood up from the chair with a smile. She did not even look at Chu Xiaoyang as she held Xiao Ru's hand and slowly walked to the back hall. Chu Xiaoyang stared at her back with an ice-cold expression. Oh, that's right, little sister, there is something elder sister must remind you of. Qin Ning suddenly stopped and turned around. She smiled at Qin Baiyun and her eyes fell onto her stomach. She blinked and said, "My good little sister, you are a person with a body, so when we cross our cups, you can't really drink it. Also, when you enter the bridal room, your Highness must be gentle and don't hurt the child in little sister's stomach." After saying this, she curled her lips into a smile and turned to leave. Her clothes fluttered in the wind like a red butterfly as she disappeared around the corner in the blink of an eye. She had left, but her last words were like a large stone thrown into a calm lake, creating a giant wave in the crowd. When they heard that Qin Baiyun was pregnant, everyone was shocked. They didn't even have time to react before they saw a good show. That was the Ding Yuan princess carelessly throwing the golden crown to the second Miss Qin who had just entered the door. What did she mean by this? It was clear that she didn't care about the princess position at all. He never thought that King Ding Yuan, who was treated like a delicious cake by all the young ladies in the capital city, would actually be rejected by his ugly princess. Seeing King Ding Yuan, who was in everyone's palms suffer, this was a once-in-100 years scene. He really didn't come to this wedding banquet in vain. If he missed out on such a lively occasion, wouldn't he regret it for the rest of his life? King Ding Yuan, Chu Xiaoyang, could be said to be known by everyone in the capital city. He was the emperor's favorite and had a high position in the capital city, calling the wind and calling the rain. However, a tall tree attracts the wind. There were many people who were jealous of him and could not bear to see him do what he did. Seeing Chu Xiaoyang embarrass himself was a very satisfying matter for them. King Ding Qin S said, King Qin S is S said, King. Getting pregnant before marriage, this is really strange news. No wonder she anxiously wanted to marry King Ding Yuan, it's because she has a child in her stomach. A young lady from a large family, even if she's a concubine, she should still be well-mannered. She actually did this kind of immoral thing. Pay, how shameless. Chapter 9. The people that came to the King Ding Yuan palace to congratulate him were all famous people in the capital. They were all nobles with high statuses. If they praised someone, they could turn a pile of cow dung into a flower. But if they were to criticize someone, their mouths would be even more poisonous than arsenic. These people loved to gossip the most. Now that they had met this kind of big matter, how could they not talk about it? Only everyone was worried about Chu Xiaoyang's face, so no one pointed out his mistakes. They all pointed their spears at Chen Baiyun and their words were like arrows. Each word was like a knife, stabbing right into Chen Baiyun's heart. When Chen Baiyun heard everyone's mocking words, she was so embarrassed that she wished she could dig a hole in the ground. This should have been the most glorious and proud moment of her life, but it had turned into a shame that she could never wash away. All of this was because of Chen Ning. She suddenly hated Chen Ning. She wished she could skin her alive, dig out her liver, and pull out her tendons, but there was doubt in her heart. The matter of her pregnancy, including herself, only 2 people knew about it. Her mother would naturally keep it a secret for her. The doctor that had taken her pulse had already turned into a ghost. A dead person, naturally they would not leak this secret. Other than that, even Chu Xiaoyang did not know about this matter. How did Chen Ning know? Everyone says that second Miss Chen is the #1 beauty in the capital, but who would have thought that this #1 beauty is already a broken flower? She still has the nerve to put on such a pure and clean appearance. Marrying the big and sending the small, King Ding Yuan has really made a big profit this time, Tue, who knows if the small one in her stomach is King Ding Yuan's child? That's right, for a fickle woman like her, who knows how many people she has behind her back. If I knew that second Miss Chen was this kind of person, I would have gone to hook up with her. Perhaps I would have been able to taste second Miss Chen's fragrance. It really is a pity. Several of the rich young masters of the capital gathered together. They were all talking here and there, but the words that came out of their mouths were becoming more and more disgusting. Their fathers were all important ministers of the court, having high positions. They relied on their fathers to act recklessly in the capital, running amok. They did not put Chu Xiaoyang in their eyes at all, so naturally they said whatever they wanted to say. They did not deliberately lower their voices, so not a single word was missed by Chu Xiaoyang's ears. Chu Xiaoyang's face turned from white to red, from red to green, and from green to black, until it was as black as ink. Damn! Truly damn! Chu Xiaoyang's hands tightly clenched into fists. His chest was violently heaving up and down, as if his chest was about to explode from anger. The veins on his temples were throbbing with a piercing pain. He suddenly learned that the woman he loved was pregnant, but he didn't feel the joy of being a father at all, because the overwhelming criticism had already drowned him. He only felt was filled with shame. He was filled with anger. Of Chen of King of Mountain. The originally grand wedding had already turned into a stage of humiliation for him. All the guests who came to congratulate him were all watching him as a joke. Chen Baiyun. He squeezed out these 3 words through gritted teeth. His eyes were filled with flames as he stared at Chen Baiyun. The news of her pregnancy was something that even he did not know, but Chen Ning did. Even if he used the back of his head to think, he knew what was going on. It was without a doubt that she had told Chen Ning. This kind of private matter, how could she casually say it? Especially since she had told Chen Ning, but she had not told him a single word. Chapter 10. Your Highness, this concubine. Chen Baiyun's face was covered and she couldn't see Chu Xiaoyang's murderous eyes, but she could hear the anger and coldness in his voice. She couldn't help shivering and she didn't know how to reply in a panic. What should she say? Should she deny it? Or should she silently admit it? You are simply throwing away this king's face. Chu Xiaoyang said in a voice filled with hatred. After saying this, he suddenly waved his sleeve and walked into the back hall without looking back. Your Highness. Your Highness. Listen to my explanation, listen to my explanation. Things aren't like this. Your Highness, this concubine has been wronged. Chen Baiyun could no longer maintain the demeanor of a new bride as she chased after Chu Xiaoyang. She was running too fast and she even forgot to take off the red scarf on her head. She couldn't see anything and suddenly a stool fell from an unknown place, landing right in front of her feet. She was caught off guard and tripped, falling flat on her face. Ah! She let out a cry of surprise. Yun. Hearing her call, Chu Xiaoyang, who was walking away, suddenly turned around and saw Chen Baiyun fall to the ground. Her hands were hugging her stomach and her face was filled with pain. Pain. My stomach. It hurts. Chen Baiyun broke out in a cold sweat from the pain. She held her stomach as she cried out in pain, "Child, my child. Your Highness, save me, save our child." She was filled with fear and pain. She could no longer care about shame as she loudly cried out. She had to protect this child no matter what. Because as long as she could protect this child, she would have the hope of becoming King Dingyuan's princess. If she lost the child, she would be further and further away from the princess position. Royal doctor, quickly go find the royal doctor. Chu Xiaoyang hugged Chen Baiyun and shouted out in a hoarse voice. His heart was also filled with pain as well. He could not blame Chen Baiyun right now. Child, nothing could happen to her and his child. If anything happened to them, he would tear the culprit that caused their deaths, Chen Ning, into 10,000 pieces. The housekeeper's face turned white from fear and his legs began to cramp. He gave a short reply and ran out, but came back in while panting. Your Highness, this little one does not have the token, so I can't enter the palace. Take it. Chu Xiaoyang took off the jade pendant from his waist and threw it at the steward without any hesitation. Then he sent out a kick and kicked him out the door. Scram! If anything happens to Yun'er, this prince will take your life. The butler scrambled away, not even daring to look back. Yun'er. Chu Xiaoyang tightly hugged Chen Baiyun. Seeing that her eyes had turned white from the pain and she had already fainted, how could he dare delay any longer? He loudly shouted again, "Someone, quickly go find the best doctor in the city and the best midwife." The servants agreed and ran out of the door one after another. They were in such a hurry that a few of them actually squeezed together and knocked into each other. The originally joyous wedding hall suddenly became a pot of porridge. Trash! Idiot! Damn! Chu Xiaoyang angrily cursed. Seeing a happy event turn into a farce, the guests that came to congratulate didn't know if they should sit there and watch the joke or go forward to comfort King Dingyang. The expressions on their faces were rich and varied. However, everyone felt that coming to King Dingyuan's wedding banquet was worth it. Chapter 11. At this moment, the culprit who had turned Chu Xiaoyang's wedding hall into a mess was currently strolling in the back garden with Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru's eyes were filled with stars and her mouth was wide open, looking at Chen Ning with a look of worship. Eldest young Mrs. Performance in the wedding hall just now was like a completely different person, causing her to be so amazed that her eyeballs almost popped out. Too great. Silly girl, if you don't close your mouth, be careful of bird poop falling in. Chen Ning looked at her. Xiao Ru instantly closed her mouth. If you have anything to say, ask it now while there are no outsiders. Chen Ning looked around. Xiao Ru's mouth that had just closed opened again in shock. She wanted to ask the young miss a question, but before she could even open her mouth, the young miss had already guessed it. Could it be that the young miss was a bug in her stomach? She muttered in her heart. Silly girl, the expression on your face has already told me. Chen Ning looked at her and once again guessed what she was thinking. With a smile, she said, "You want to ask me, how did I know Chen Baiyun was pregnant, right?" Xiao Ru's mouth was already wide open and her eyes were wide open. Could the young Miss eyes see through a person's heart? What she was thinking, the young Miss seemed to be able to see through it with a single glance. "Shoo, don't make such a big fuss over nothing. Chen Baiyun is pregnant, anyone with eyes can see it with a single glance." Hearing this, Xiao Ru's little face fell. Was the young Miss mocking her for not having eyes? Seeing Xiao Ru's crying face, Chen Ning realized that she had said something wrong. She quickly comforted her, "Of course I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about that idiot Chu Xiaoyang who doesn't have eyes." But young miss, this servant can't see that second miss, she. What is it?" Xiao Ru's face turned red as she stammered out this sentence. "What is it?" Chen Ning deliberately teased her. It's that." Xiao Ru anxiously stomped her feet as her face turned red. She was too embarrassed to say the words, "pregnant." She clearly remembered that the red wedding dress the second miss was wearing was very fitting. Her waist was so slender that it couldn't be grasped, it was impossible to tell that she was pregnant. Chen Ning burst into laughter. She pinched Xiao Ru's shy and embarrassed face and said with a smile, "All right, I won't tease you anymore. Do you still remember when Chen Baiyun gave me tea in the wedding hall?" "Of course I remember." This servant was worried that the second miss would play some tricks, so I wanted to tell the young miss to be careful. I never thought that young miss would be so good to her, even remnant of the water on the floor. Xiao Ru's voice was filled with anger. Of she wanted to play some tricks, but I didn't. Chen Ning smiled and said, "As for reminding her that there was water on the ground, of course I wasn't that kind. Do you remember what she did after I reminded her?" Xiao Ru thought back and said, "It seems like the second miss immediately took a few steps back and then the servants came up to wipe the water off." She remembered that she was secretly blaming the young miss in her heart. Why did she remind Chen Baiyun? Wouldn't it be better to let the second miss fall? That's not right. Chen Ning corrected her. Before she stepped back, her first action was to raise her right hand and cover her stomach before taking a step back. But why did the second miss cover her stomach first? Xiao Ru asked in a daze. Chapter 12. Xiao Ru immediately pricked up her ears and concentrated on listening. "Be careful, there's a hole in front of us," Chen Ning suddenly said. "Ah!" Xiao Ru was shocked and quickly retreated. When she looked over, she found that the blue stone road was completely flat and there was no hole at all. "Young miss, why are you teasing this servant?" She unhappily pouted. Chen Ning smiled and patted her shoulder. "I just did a small experiment and the results are obvious. When you hear that there's a hole in front of you, your first reaction is to retreat. This is a subconscious reaction to avoid danger, but when Chen Baiyun heard that there was water, her first reaction was to cover her stomach. What does this subconscious action mean? It means that in her subconscious, she instinctively wants to protect her stomach. Then think about it, what kind of treasure is in her stomach that she would place this much importance on? The answer is obvious. That is, she is already pregnant. She said word for word. Xiao Ru was suddenly enlightened. She looked up at Chen Ning and her eyes sparkled like little stars. "Young miss, you really are too smart. Compared to you, this servant's head is like a block of wood and this servant's eyes are just for show." Her self-loathing made Chen Ning burst out in laughter. Xiao Ru looked at Chen Ning's smile in a daze and scratched her head in confusion. She found that after the young miss woke up, it was like she had become a different person. Not only was she smarter than before, she always had a smile on her face. "Young miss, why aren't you angry?" "Why would I be angry?" Chen Ning raised her brows. "Didn't you always like King Dingyuan?" You and King Ding Yuan were personally arranged by the emperor, but the second miss was shameless. She stole young Miss' husband and even got pregnant before marriage. Xiao Ru spoke until she was filled with anger and her cheeks puffed up. Just pretend that the Chen Ning who liked Chu Xiaoyang is already dead. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile. In fact, that Chen Ning was no longer in this world. In the 3rd month of spring, hundreds of flowers were blooming. The King Ding Yuan Palace's back garden was filled with beautiful flowers. Chen Ning's mind was not on the flowers. She pulled Xiao Ru's hand and dodged through the flowers, quickly avoiding the servant's line of sight. She came to a corner and began to take off her clothes. Young miss, what are you doing? Xiao Ru's chin almost fell off. Chen Ning did not reply. She quickly took off the red robe on her body, revealing a long white dress. She used the clothes she took off to wipe her face a few times before throwing them on the ground. She suddenly turned into a different person. Xiao Ru, quickly go. Ru said in a low voice. Xiao Ru. What are you drilling for? Xiao Ru looked at Chen Ning in a daze. Go Chen Ning Chen, Xiao Ru said. Without waiting for Xiao Ru to react, Chen Ning bent down and went through the dog hole in the corner. Xiao Ru was stunned. The dignified Ding Yuan princess, the young miss of the Hugua Manor, was actually hiding in a dog hole. Xiao! Stupid girl, come here. Chen Ning waved at her from outside the cave. Little Ru closed her eyes and made up her mind. She didn't have time to think as she lowered her head and dove into the dog hole. Dong! Her head hit the wall and tears almost came out from the pain. Young miss, she said with a crying face. Chen Ning found this funny and angry. This silly girl, she didn't even know how to go through a dog hole. Chapter 13. Chen Ning looked over from the corner of her eyes and found that the back courtyard of the King Ding Yuan Palace was not far away. There were several guards standing at the door, and while they were not discovered, she quickly pulled Xiao Ru away. Only when they turned the corner did she let out a sigh of relief. We've finally escaped. She patted her chest and took a deep breath. Young miss, why did we have to escape? Xiao Ru was filled with confusion. Chen Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes at Xiao Ru. She was too lazy to explain and just pulled her hand to quickly leave. This place was too close to the King Ding Yuan Palace and it was not safe enough. She had to go as far as possible. As for why she had to escape, she had caused a mess at Chu Xiaoyang's wedding. If she stayed in the king's palace, once Chu Xiaoyang realized what had happened, the first person he would find would be her. She was not stupid, naturally she would not wait there for him to take care of her. As for where she could escape to, she had not thought of it yet. She could not go back to the Hugua Palace. If she went back, she would definitely be found by Chu Xiaoyang's people. Birds could fly in the sky and fish could swim in the sea. This world was big, was there no place for her? Chen Ning was not worried at all and her mood was very good. Thinking of Chu Xiaoyang and Chen Baiyun's current appearance, she was like a pig that had eaten ginseng. Every pore on her body was filled with laughter. After passing through several streets, the surroundings suddenly became very lively. There was a dense crowd of people in front of them that were all talking about something. Yeah, something fun must have happened over there. Young miss, let's go take a look. Xiao Ru had an excited look on her face as she pulled Chen Ning into the crowd. Squeezing to the front, she saw two children in the middle of the crowd. They looked to be around 7 to 8 years old, one boy and one girl. The two of them had a straw sign on their heads and they were crying over a body covered in straw. On the side, there were 4 words written in yellow mud, selling my body to bury my father. The two children were sallow and emaciated, and their clothes were ragged. They cried with snot and tears, which aroused the sympathy of the onlookers. They threw copper coins and silver pieces on the ground one after another. Xiao Ru sighed and prepared to take out her purse to pay. How pitiful, losing their father at such a young age. She sniffled. Suddenly, with a clang, a silver ingot fell in front of the two children. It shone brilliantly and dazzlingly, immediately causing an uproar among the crowd. This person is so generous. He actually took out 50 silver taels in one go. People praised and gave a thumbs up to the person who generously donated the money. It was a tall man wearing black clothes with his back facing Qin Ning and Xiao Ru. Looking at his slender back, he was like a pine tree. Nowadays, people are really stupid and rich. Qin Ning couldn't help shaking her head with a sigh. Everyone glared at her. The black-clothed man also turned around and a cold light swept across Qin Ning's face. "Eldest miss, don't say that. Look at how pitiful these two children are." Xiao Ru was shocked. She quickly pulled on Qin Ning's sleeve and secretly gave her a few copper coins. "Let's give him some money too." "Yeah, they are so pitiful." Qin Ning said it was pitiful, but her face was smiling. She didn't have a single bit of pity for the two children. Xiao Ru had an awkward look on her face. Seeing everyone looking at the young miss, she wanted to reach out with her hands and cover up the smile on the young miss' face. "Little brother, little sister, is the dead person under the mat your father?" Chapter 14. What kind of person is this girl? Her child's father died and she sold her body to bury him. Not only did she not give them money, she even sneered at them. That's right, she's really cold-blooded. Inhumane. The surrounding citizens could not stand it and began to criticize Qin Ning. Xiao Ru's face turned red from embarrassment. She wished there was a crack in the ground for the young miss to hide in. Qin Ning turned a deaf ear to them. She had a smile on her face, as if the people's criticism had nothing to do with her. "Your father is dead, it really is too pitiful. How about this, I'll help you bring your dead father back to life, all right?" She continued to smile as she spoke. What did she mean? Before the crowd could react, they saw Qin Ning pull out the hairpin in her hair and stab it into the corpse's palm that was exposed outside the straw mat. The two children were shocked and quickly tried to stop her. With a pitiful "ao" sound, the corpse on the ground suddenly sat up. Hong! The crowd suddenly exploded. The corpse came back to life. "Run for your life!" The panicked people scattered in all directions, creating a chaotic scene. The corpse realized that something was wrong and quickly closed his eyes. He was prepared to lie down and pretend to be dead, but his wrist was suddenly grabbed by Qin Ning. "Hey! Don't be in such a rush to die. I saw that your two children were pitiful, so I saved you with great difficulty. You can't die again." Qin Ning giggled as she shook the hairpin in her hand. There was a faint trace of blood on the tip of the hairpin. The corpse was stunned. Then he flew into a rage and waved his fist at Qin Ning. "So it was you, little girl, who ruined father's good things." His fist stopped in the air. A thin and handsome young man suddenly appeared in front of Qin Ning. Two fingers grabbed the man's wrist and he raised his hand, slapping the corpse a few times. "Damn liar, you even dare lie to my master. I'll beat you to death." The young man's voice was a bit sharp as he slapped and cursed at the same time. This young man was wearing a blue robe and had been standing behind the black-clothed man the entire time. It seemed like he was the man's servant. The corpse cried and kneeled on the ground as he begged, "Good man, spare me, spare me. This little one doesn't dare, I won't dare lie to people anymore." The surrounding citizens finally reacted. It wasn't a corpse, but rather a swindler. They were instantly enraged. They surrounded the swindler, kicking and punching, and cursing at him. Chen Ning looked at this scene with a faint smile. She pulled Xiao Ru's hand and left the crowd. When the angry citizens came back to their senses and wanted to find Chen Ning to thank her, they found that she had already disappeared. Where is that girl? If the girl hadn't seen through this swindler's disguise at first glance, we would have been fooled. She is of. Chen Ning and Xiao Ru passed by a restaurant and stopped at the same time. At this time, it was time to take a seat. The lobby on the first floor was filled with diners. The waiters carried plates and shuttled back and forth, and the strong aroma of the dishes assailed their nostrils. How fragrant! Xiao Ru forcefully sniffed and her saliva almost flowed out. Chen Ning also felt her stomach rumbling. After transmigrating for so long, she had only had a sip of tea in the wedding hall, so she was already very hungry. Chapter 15. Xiao Ru, do you have any silver? Chen Ning touched her pocket and found that it was empty. She had left the king's palace in a hurry and had forgotten to bring any silver. Xiao Ru took out her pouch and shook her head in frustration. I don't have any silver, only 6 copper coins. I just gave it all to the young miss. 6 copper coins. It was only enough to buy a few steamed buns. Perhaps she wouldn't even be able to eat meat buns. Chen Ning looked at the copper coins in her hand and swallowed her saliva. She prepared to leave with Xiao Ru. Young miss, quickly look. Xiao Ru suddenly pointed at the second floor of the restaurant. It's that lots of money. What lots of money? Chen Ning was puzzled. She looked in the direction Xiao Ru was pointing and saw that the window on the second floor was open. There was a black-clothed man sitting by the window and behind him was a blue-clothed youth. Although they had only met in a hurry, Chen Ning had a good memory. She immediately recognized that the black-clothed man was the person who had thrown out 50 silver coins without even blinking. She remembered that the black-clothed man's back was very pleasing to the eye, but his face was very plain and expressionless, just like a wooden statue. His eyes, however, were extremely sharp, and the cold light in his eyes was threatening. Xiao Ru, why do you call him lots of money? Chen Ning found it funny just thinking about it. Because young miss said he's stupid and has a lot of money. Xiao Ru straightforwardly said. Ha, ha, that's a good nickname. Xiao Ru, you're really smart. Chen Ning praised as she patted Xiao Ru's shoulder. The master and servant stood at the door of the restaurant and laughed. They did not know that their conversation had already been heard by the black-clothed man in the private room on the second floor. Even the green-robed youth could hear it clearly. What kind of person was this? He had such guts, daring to criticize his master behind his back. He even gave his master a nickname. Lots of money. He was really as vulgar as he could be. The blue-clothed youth's mouth twitched. He looked down and saw Chen Ning. He gave an "ah" sound and then said in a low voice, Master, it's that girl. The black-clothed man did not even look out the window. He just continued to drink and eat. Suddenly he looked up with a pair of cold eyes and stared at the blue-clothed youth. Meddlesome. The man coldly said. The blue-clothed youth immediately went silent. He lowered his eyes and poured the black-clothed man's cup. Xiao Ru was still chattering downstairs. Young miss, that lots of money seems to be very rich. How about we let him treat us to a good meal? Xiao Ru smelled the fragrance of the food in the air and her legs couldn't move. We don't know him, so why would he treat us to a good meal? Chen Ning asked with a smile. It's because you helped him save 50 taels of silver. If you hadn't exposed that swindler, he would have lost a lot of money. Ning smiled and shook her head. I'm not going. Young miss. Xiao Ru pitifully looked at Chen Ning and rubbed her stomach. This servant is too hungry to walk. There are buns over there, I'll go buy a meat bun for you to eat, all right? Chen Ning weighed the 6 copper coins in her hand. Not good, what's so good about roux? Young miss, smell this, this is lotus root boiled beef. Ah, there's also onion spare ribs. Ah yeah, there's also my favorite chestnut roasted chicken. Xiao Ru desperately sniffed the fragrance coming from the restaurant. She swallowed her saliva as she reported the names of the dishes as if they were her family treasures. Chapter 16. Why not? Young miss, this servant is really hungry. Xiao Ru looked up and pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve. Because there are some people you can't afford to offend. That Qian Duo is not a normal person, offending him will only bring you a lot of trouble. Chen Ning said without any hesitation. Although she had only met the black-clothed man once, her instincts told her that she could not get close to this man. A lot of trouble. The blue-clothed young man's mouth twitched again. He secretly looked over at the black-clothed man and found that his master had unknowingly put down his chopsticks with a thoughtful look in his eyes. Could it be that his master was the same as him and had been eavesdropping on the girl downstairs? This was really strange. When did his master become interested in a girl's conversation? The blue-clothed young man's ears perked up again. He was really curious. That girl had only met his master once, so why did she say that his master was a lot of trouble? Also, he really wanted to know how this girl knew that the corpse was pretending to be dead. It had to be known that in this world, there weren't many people that could trick his master. Young miss, is that Qian Duo very troublesome? This servant thinks that he is just a rich young master. Xiao Ru asked. He is very rich, but he is also very dangerous. In any case, he is a dangerous person that we can't afford to offend. Chen Ning answered while pulling Xiao Ru away from the restaurant. She saw that there was a stall selling meat buns at the end of the alley and decided to buy one for Xiao Ru first. Young miss, how is that Qian Duo dangerous? Xiao Ru asked without giving up. About this, it can only be understood and not explained. Young miss, don't keep me guessing. Can you tell this servant? All right. After eating the buns, I'll tell you. Chen Ning giggled as she pinched Xiao Ru's cheeks. The two of them gradually walked away. Even if the black-clothed man and the blue-clothed young man had good hearing, they could not hear the conversation between the two of them. The blue-clothed young man felt an itch in his heart. He really wanted to chase after them, but when he looked at the black-clothed man, he gave up on this idea. Xiao Si. The black-clothed man suddenly spoke. This servant is here. The blue-clothed young man Xiao Si respectfully replied. Go and invite the two girls downstairs. The man's voice was cold. Yes, master. Xiao Si replied. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and turned around. He almost suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Did he hear wrongly? Master, what did you just say? He asked cautiously. Go invite them up. The black-clothed man slowly said word by word, just say that Qian Duo wants to treat them to a meal. He wants to treat them to lotus root boiled beef, scallion pork ribs, and chestnut roasted chicken. * King Ding Yuan Palace. Where is he? Have you found it yet? Chu Xiaoyang's face was as deep as water. He sat in the center of the hall with a bunch of people kneeling in front of him. The servants trembled in fear. Replying to your highness, we have searched the entire prince's mansion, but we couldn't find the princess shadow. The housekeeper knelt on the ground and trembled. Not being able to find the princess, he was also very anxious. He almost personally carried a ladder up to the roof to tear down the tiles. Bastard, idiot. You're all trash. Chu Xiaoyang couldn't help cursing. He raised his foot and kicked the steward. All of you scram down to find her. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you have to find that cheap person for me. He fiercely said. Yes, yes, yes. Chapter 17. The meat buns that had just come out of the steamer were 3 copper coins for 1 and 6 copper coins for 2. Chen Ning and Xiao Ru each held one as they ate with delight. The fragrant pork filling had a thin skin and a large filling. With a single bite, oil flowed from the corner of her mouth and it was as fragrant as it could be. Young miss, this really is the most delicious meat bun I've ever eaten. Xiao Ru swallowed the last bite of the bun and licked the oil off her fingers as if she hadn't had enough. Xiao Ru, you can be assured. In the future, I will let you eat something even more delicious than meat buns every day. Chen Ning wiped her hands with the bun paper and confidently said these words. Although her pocket was now cleaner than her face, she believed that with her photographic memory, she would definitely be able to earn a bucket of gold in this era with nothing at all. She already had a preliminary plan. Since she had eaten her fill, she would start working. Chen Ning stood up from the stone steps and patted the dirt off her dress. Then she turned to call out to Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru, let's go. Before she could finish, she suddenly felt a pain in the back of her head. It was like she had been hit by something hard. What happened? Her eyes turned black and her body swayed. She fell to the ground with a putong sound and then she didn't know what happened. Young miss. Xiao Ru had just let out a surprised cry when she was also knocked unconscious. Several men came out of nowhere and put away the wooden sticks. They opened the sacks and placed the unconscious Chen Ning and Xiao Ru into the sacks. Then they threw them into a nearby carriage and jumped onto the carriage. Then they quickly drove off. The entire process was done very quickly, not leaving a single trace. As soon as the horse carriage turned the corner, the green-clothed youth Xiao Si rushed over. Where did they go? He stared blankly at the empty alley. So strange, why was there no one here? He had clearly seen the 2 girls by the buns and enter the alley, so how did they disappear in the blink of an eye? Could it be that they had escaped into the sky? Xiao Si rubbed the back of his head, feeling very puzzled. My head hurts. Chen Ning slowly woke up and felt a splitting pain in the back of her head. She reached out to touch it and found a large bump. Damn, she had been tricked. The first person she thought of was Xiao Ru. She turned around and sat up, looking at Xiao Ru. She was lying in the pile of firewood in front of her with her eyes closed, unconscious. Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru. She called out twice, but Xiao Ru did not open her eyes. However, her breathing was even, making her heart fall back down. There was a familiar musty smell in the air. This was a shabbily decorated firewood shed, filled with firewood, and a broken wooden bed was placed in the corner. Chen Ning's mouth twitched and she revealed a bitter smile. Chen Ning's lips twitched and she revealed a bitter smile. She recognized this bed and this wooden room. When she transmigrated, she woke up in this room and this bed. I never thought that after running away, I would still not be able to escape from Chu Xiaoyang's palms. Chen Ning knit her brows and said to herself. She now understood that the people who attacked them and knocked them out were people sent by Chu Xiaoyang. She did not expect this guy to be so resourceful. She had underestimated him. She never thought that this fellow would be this powerful. It seemed like she had underestimated him. As soon as she left the king's palace, he had already sent people to find her. However, what kind of method would he use to deal with her? Chapter 18. According to Chen Ning's observation, Chu Xiaoyang was an arrogant and headstrong person. This kind of person cared about face the most. In the wedding hall today, she had slashed his face in front of all the guests, making him look like a fool. This was no different from poking a tiger's butt. Now that the tiger Chu Xiaoyang had been completely angered by her, he definitely had the heart to swallow her alive. No, she definitely couldn't sit here and wait for death. While Chu Xiaoyang had not appeared yet, she had to think of a way to escape. Chen Ning made up her mind and went to push Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru, wake up. Xiao Ru, quickly wake up. She forcefully pinched Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru gave a ing sound and opened her eyes in a daze. Young miss, why does my head hurt so much? Where are we? She rubbed her eyes as she looked around. Her mind was still not clear. This is the King Dingyuan Palace's wooden hut. We've been caught by Chu Xiaoyang's people. Ah! Xiao Ru woke up in fright and her eyes opened wide. Shoo, don't make a sound. We have to think of a way to escape. Chen Ning walked in front of the door and forcefully pushed it open. She found that the wooden door was locked from the outside and the two windows were tightly shut. There was no doubt that they had been sealed. She peeked out from the crack of the door and saw a dozen or so servants guarding the door. Each of them had a round waist and broad shoulders, and were tall and sturdy. It's over, it seems like we can't escape. What should she do? Chen Ning knit her brows. She placed a finger on her chin and gently tapped it. This was her habit when she was thinking. But before she could think of anything, she heard the sound of hurried footsteps coming from afar. It broke her train of thought and made her body turn cold at the same time. She put her eye to the crack of the door, and saw a group of men approaching menacingly. The person walking at the front was wearing a large red wedding robe. His incomparably handsome face was so dark that it seemed like it was about to drip water. There was a trace of killing intent in between his brows. If it wasn't Chu Xiaoyang, who else could it be? This is bad. Chen Ning secretly complained. Her mind quickly turned as she tried to think of a way to escape, but in this situation, how could she think of anything? Xiao Ru also realized the danger and her face turned white. She climbed up from the ground and stood in front of Chen Ning. She shouted, "Young miss, I'll stall His Highness in a bit, you can find a chance to escape." Run. How could she escape under the watchful eyes of so many people? Chen Ning shook her head. She raised her hand to stroke Xiao Ru's hair and gave her a faint smile. Although this girl's brain wasn't very bright, she was very touched by her loyalty. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Unlock the door. Chu Xiaoyang's cold voice sounded from outside the door. With a clang, the lock was unlocked. Immediately after, the two doors flew inwards and landed on the ground with two clattering sounds. Grass fragments flew in all directions. There was a deep palm print on each of the two wooden doors. Chu Xiaoyang's attack had a shocking momentum. At this moment, Chen Ning's body suddenly fell backwards. "Young miss, what's wrong?" Xiao Ru was shocked. She rushed forward to support her, but it was too late. Chen Ning fell to the ground and her body twitched. Her eyes turned white and blood leaked out from the corner of her mouth. Xiao Ru was so scared that her heart almost jumped out of her chest. "Eldest miss, what's wrong with you? Don't scare this servant." "Eldest miss." Chapter 19. Chu Xiaoyang had a stomach full of resentment and was prepared to vent it all on Chen Ning, but he never would have thought that he would see this kind of scene when he came in. He couldn't help being stunned. Could it be that when he struck the wooden door just now, she was standing behind the door, so she was coincidentally hit by his palm? Although he had only used 40% of his strength, a normal person's flesh and blood body would not be able to take it. Looking at Chen Ning's appearance, it seemed like she had suffered a very heavy internal injury. He suddenly felt like his chest was filled with discomfort. It was like he had used all his strength to throw a punch, but it had hit thin air. This evil fire could not come out or go out, it was almost suffocating him to death. Because he was still the respected King Ding Yuan, he couldn't vent his anger on a woman who was about to die. If this was spread out, where would he, Chu Xiaoyang, have any face left? Dying this easily, it really is too easy for a cheap person like you. Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold snort. He did not even look at Chen Ning on the ground as he turned to leave. Your Highness, please save my family's young miss, I beg you. Xiao Ru cried as she ran over. Kneeling at Chu Xiaoyang's feet, she grabbed the corner of his robe and begged. Chu Xiaoyang looked down at Xiao Ru from above. His eyes were filled with cold disgust. All right, seeing that she is this king's princess, this king will be merciful and send people to collect her corpse. I'll also reward her with a coffin, he said in a cruel and cold voice as he kicked Xiao Ru away. Scram! With a wave of his sleeve, he mercilessly walked away. The servants holding the whips and sticks looked at each other in blank dismay. They had been ordered to teach the princess a lesson, but the princess was lying on the ground spitting out blood and was on her last breath. They couldn't use whips and sticks to deal with a dying person, right? The housekeeper waved his hand and led all the servants away. There was only the blood-spitting out Qin Ning and the crying Xiao Ru left in the wooden hut. His Highness is actually this cruel and cold. Xiao Ru angrily looked at Chu Xiaoyang's cold back. She choked with sobs as she bit her lips. Turning around, she cried into Qin Ning's body while gasping for breath. Young miss, you will definitely be fine. This servant will ask His Highness and have him bring a doctor over for you. She gritted her teeth and wiped her tears, preparing to stand up. Xiao Ru, don't go. A hand suddenly grasped her wrist. Xiao Ru was stunned. She turned around and saw that Qin Ning had opened her eyes at some unknown time. Her eyes were black and clear, shining with life. She didn't look like someone who was about to die at all. She couldn't help being stunned. Eldest miss, are you all right? Young miss, are you fine? Chen Ning giggled and winked at Xiao Ru, is everyone gone? Xiao Ru was still in a daze as she muttered, gone, they're all gone. Chen Ning stood up from the ground. Chen Ning suddenly stood up from the ground and patted the dirt off her body. She looked down at the two deep palm prints Chu Xiaoyang had left on the wooden board and she couldn't help sticking out her tongue. She looked down at the two deep palm prints left by Chu Xiaoyang and couldn't help sticking out her tongue. This was simply a legendary martial arts master. She never thought that not only did Chu Xiaoyang know martial arts, his internal energy was also very deep. Originally, she wanted to use the martial arts that she had learned in the modern world to catch the enemy off guard and capture the leader first to catch the bandits off guard. But now it seemed like her martial arts were not even worthy of carrying Chu Xiaoyang's shoes. It was a good thing she had an idea and thought of pretending to be dead, successfully tricking Chu Xiaoyang's eyes. Chapter 20. Young miss, so you were pretending just now. Xiao Ru finally reacted and realized what had happened. Of course I was pretending. If I didn't pretend to be dead, how could Chu Xiaoyang let me go so easily? Chen Ning used her sleeve to wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth. She took in a cold breath and slightly knit her brows. In order to make her act more realistic, she had to bite her tongue. Young miss, why did you act so realistic? This servant was almost scared to death by you. This servant really thought you were. Xiao Ru sniffled as her eyes turned red. All right, it's fine now. That blind bastard man has finally left. Chen Ning used her sleeve to wipe Xiao Ru's tears. She asked in a concerned voice, Xiao Ru, did he hurt you? This servant is fine. Xiao Ru shook her head. She was just worried about Chen Ning. That kick just now was not light, but she did not say a single word about it. Young miss, while there's no one here, let's quickly escape. You can trick His Highness for a while, but you can't trick him forever. He will soon send people to collect young Miss' corpse. If he finds out that young Miss lied to him, he will not let you go. She quickly pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve. Seeing the killing intent on His Highness' face, it was clear that he wanted to take the young Miss' life. Chen Ning shook her head and a strange glow flashed in her eyes. She slowly said, "No, I won't escape. I want to stay here. But, the people His Highness will send will be here soon." Xiao Ru was so anxious that she began to sweat. "Xiao Ru, you can be assured. When the water comes, the earth will subdue it. When the soldiers come, the generals will block them. I will naturally have a way," Chen Ning said with a confident look. She had already made up her mind. Chu Xiaoyang was very resourceful. If he could catch her when she had just escaped the palace, then it would be useless for her to escape. She would fall into his hands sooner or later. Since he had the ability to catch her, then she would stay here and fight with him. She would also meet that White Lotus little sister of hers. She rubbed the swollen bump on the back of her head. With a hiss, she grinded her teeth. Chu Xiaoyang, she would remember this debt. If she didn't cause a ruckus in the King Ding Yuan palace, she would not be able to live up to that stick on the back of her head. Seeing the strange smile on Chen Ning's face, Xiao Ru suddenly shivered. She felt that someone was about to run out of luck. "This is bad, eldest Mississippi. His Highness really sent people here. Let's find a place to hide." The sky had already darkened and Xiao Ru could see lights flashing in the distance. There were several old maids holding lanterns and there were several servants carrying a coffin as they ran towards the wooden hut. Chen Ning said, "Run." Chen Ning also saw this and her lips curled into a faint smile. Chen Ning saw this scene. Chu Xiaoyang really sent people with a coffin to collect her corpse. She took a step forward and walked out of the woodshed. Standing at the door, she coldly watched the group of people approach. Several old maids walking in front saw a person standing at the door of the woodshed from a distance, but they didn't care. They had received orders to collect the corpse of the princess consort who had just entered the palace 3 days ago. They only cared about the dead person in the wooden hut and not the living person standing in front of the door. When the maids arrived in front of the wooden hut, one of them felt that Chen Ning was blocking the door. She even reached out to push her and shouted, "Where are you working? If you have nothing to do, then don't wander around. This is not a place for you." Chapter 21. Chen Ning had married into the King Ding Yuan palace 3 days ago. Because of her serious illness, she had been sent to the wooden hut that night, so all of the servants in the palace had never seen her face before. These maids were all rough servants, so naturally they did not recognize Chen Ning. "Excuse me, what are you all doing in the wooden hut?" Chen Ning did not reveal her identity and asked with a smile on her face. One of the maids thought she was just a servant girl and impatiently said, "We are here on His Highness' orders to collect the princess consort's corpse." Unrelated people moved to the side. She said this as she stepped into the wooden hut. Looking around, she said in a strange voice, "Where is the princess consort's corpse? Why isn't it here? Didn't they say that the princess was about to die?" The maids entered the wooden hut together and began to look around. Chen Ning's hand was on the door frame as she smiled at everyone. She said with a smile, "Are you looking for the princess? I know where the princess consort is." "Where?" The maids all looked over at her. "Here." Chen Ning pointed at her nose and giggled as she said, "I am the princess and the princess is me." "What? You're the princess?" The mouths of the maids fell to the ground. Their eyes opened wide as they looked at Chen Ning with a look of disbelief. I am. Chen Ning nodded with a smile. But the maids still did not dare believe it. Didn't they say that the princess was about to die? But not only was the girl in front of them alive and kicking, she was also smiling. How could they see that she was about to die? How could she be the princess? A maid suddenly saw Xiao Ru beside Chen Ning and was stunned. She pointed at Xiao Ru and said, I recognize her. She is the princess consort's dowry maid. I saw her 3 days ago. Hearing this, the maids looked at Chen Ning again. One of the maids pointed her nose up and said in a lukewarm voice, Are you really the princess? Before they knew Chen Ning's identity, their attitudes were not respectful. Now that they suspected Chen Ning was the princess, they all revealed looks of disdain. When Xiao Ru saw this, she couldn't help feeling angry. She took a step forward and loudly said, Of course she is the princess consort. You servants have seen the princess consort, why aren't you kneeling down? Kneeling down. The maids gave a cold laugh, as if Xiao Ru had just said a big joke. They all stood straight, not even bending their knees. It was as if Chen Ning did not exist in front of them. You bunch of servants, you actually dare to disrespect the princess consort. You. Xiao Ru clenched her fists in anger and her face turned red. His Highness's orders to collect the princess consort's body. We servants do not dare to go against his orders. Xiao Ru. 2 maids came forward and grabbed Xiao Ru's arm, pushing her to the side. The others came forward to grab Chen Ning. How of you are Ning? The princess consort is not dead, yet you dare to say this in front of the princess consort. Ning. Stop. Long. No one is allowed to touch my young miss. Xiao Ru screamed out. You are not allowed to touch my family's young miss. Xiao Ru screamed out. The maids did not place Chen Ning in their eyes at all. Chapter 22. They were not stupid at all. They knew who to flatter and who to trample on. His Highness had ordered them to collect the princess corpse, so naturally they would do it. Since princess consort wasn't dead yet, they would turn her into a corpse. The maids all revealed an ominous glow as they grinned at Chen Ning, slowly approaching her. Young miss, these servants want to harm you. Quickly run, quickly run. Xiao Ru saw through the maid's intentions. She took in a cold breath and loudly shouted. Young miss, these servants want to harm you. Run. This palace is filled with His Highness people, even if she grows wings, she won't be able to run. Princess, you should just obediently climb into the coffin and save these servants from making a move. The maids and servants surrounded Chen Ning as the leader of the maids coldly spoke. In their eyes, Chen Ning was already meat on the chopping block, waiting to be slaughtered. Xiao Ru was so scared that her heart almost jumped out of her chest. She desperately shouted, My family's young miss is His Highness legal princess, she is your master. Master! You are trying to kill your master. You! Aren't you afraid His Highness will cut off your heads if he finds out? We are following His Highness' orders to collect the princess corpse. The leader of the maids dragged out the words collect the corpse. She saw that Chen Ning was not moving and knit her brows. She waved her hand, Princess, since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, then these servants can only make a move. Everyone, let's go and lock her in the coffin. The maids and servants rubbed their palms together as they closed in on Chen Ning. The situation was critical. Xiao Ru was so anxious that she couldn't even cry. Chen Ning, who was surrounded by the crowd, suddenly smiled. Her smile stunned everyone, even Xiao Ru was not an exception. Xiao Ru stared at Chen Ning and her heart kept shouting, God, it can't be, right? Was his young miss scared out of her wits? The fire was burning and people were about to kill her, but the young miss could still smile. The maids and servants thought that Chin Ning had been scared silly, but they did not care if Chin Ning was crazy or not. They just wanted to send her into the coffin. Really, the dog raised by the owner. The dog servants of Chu Xiaoyang's palace all deserve a beating. The smile on Chin Ning's face suddenly disappeared. Her voice was cold and her face was covered in a layer of frost. Under the moonlight, her white-clothed slender figure stood straight, looking inviolable. Everyone was shocked by her. They paused for a moment, then stepped forward again. She was just a paper tiger, what was there to be afraid of? They had a lot of people, they would not be scared by a 16 or 17-year-old girl. Chen Ning's lips curled into a cold smile. There was no fear in her eyes at all. She came from the modern era and had learned martial arts. Although compared to Chu Xiaoyang, her little bit of martial arts was not even worthy of carrying his shoes, it was still enough to teach these lazy slaves a lesson. These snobbish servants, if she didn't teach them a lesson, how would she have a foothold in the Wangfu in the future? Her eyes fell on the arrogant face of the leading old maid. She was the first one she wanted to teach a lesson to. Paw! A crisp slap broke the silence of the night. Before the crowd could react to what had happened, two more crisp smacking sounds were heard. The leading maid opened her mouth and with a wah sound, her teeth fell to the ground and her face swelled up like a pig's head. Chapter 23. No one would have thought that the weak-looking Chin Ning would actually hit someone. Moreover, it was this heavy, knocking out the maid's teeth in 3 slaps. Such great strength. They all took in a cold breath. They realized that Chin Ning was not someone to be messed with and they all took a step back. Xiao Ru's mouth fell open in shock. Chen Ning shook her slightly sore wrist. On the surface, it seemed like nothing had happened, but the shock in her heart was not below everyone else's. Something was wrong. It had to be known that teeth were the strongest things. She knew that she did not have the strength to slap out a person's teeth. When she had raised her hand, she had felt a gentle breeze coming from behind her. Her hand couldn't help moving forward and slapping the maid's face. Then her right palm uncontrollably slapped the old woman twice in the face. It was as if someone was pushing her hand to hit someone. Chen Ning suddenly turned around and saw that there was no one behind her. There was not a single person there. She knit her brows in thought and couldn't help falling into a daze. This evil woman dares to hit people, everyone attacked together. Take down this evil woman. The maid that had her teeth knocked out spat out a mouthful of blood. She looked at Chen Ning with eyes filled with hatred as she fiercely shouted. Everyone aggressively charged forward again. They rolled up their sleeves and were about to make a move against Chen Ning. Young miss, be careful. Xiao Ru was so nervous that she couldn't breathe. In the blink of an eye, Chen Ning made her move again. With a pai li pa la sound, the maids and servants spun a few times on the spot. They swayed and then like rags, they fell to the ground. They had been hit so hard that they couldn't tell which way was north. Xiao Ru's chin fell off from shock. She looked at Chen Ning with a face of shock. She did not dare believe that this majestic Chen Ning was that weak and timid young miss. These slaps are to teach you all a lesson for not being able to see and disrespecting your master. Next time you dare to be rude to this princess will not be this polite to you. Chen Ning coldly looked over the crowd. Her eyes were cold and no one dared to look at her. Hey, what kind of princess are you? You're just an unfavored mistress, just wait for His Highness to take care of you. The maid that had lost her teeth hated Chen Ning to the bone, but she was still stubborn. After cursing her, she got up and ran, preparing to report to Chu Xiaoyang. Chen Ning gave a cold laugh and did not chase after her. She suddenly raised her right foot and the shoe on her foot flew out. With a paw sound, it hit the maid's back. The maid's eyes popped out and she spat out a mouthful of blood. She fell to the ground. Her limbs twitched a few times before she fell to the ground. Chen Ning. Chen. Everyone was so scared that their faces turned deathly pale and their bodies trembled like sifting chaff. They wanted to escape, but their legs were as soft as noodles and they couldn't even crawl up. Didn't they all say that the princess was a sick wastrel? Chen Ning said that she was one. Scram! Chen Ning coldly shouted. Everyone felt as if they had been pardoned. They scrambled away, not even daring to look back. Chen Ning's words. Everyone immediately stopped as if their acupuncture points had been poked. They turned around and their eyes were filled with fear. Take this dog that doesn't know how to talk. Chen Ning pointed at the coffin on the side. There's a ready coffin, it's perfect for collecting her corpse. Chapter 24. Young miss, you're so strong. Xiao Ru's eyes lit up with excitement. She first picked up Chen Ning's shoes and then ran over to Chen Ning's side. She looked up at her with a look of worship. Chen Ning put on her shoes, but her face was very serious. There was no pride or joy at all. Her eyes looked around and she coldly said, "Come out." Xiao Ru was stunned. What come out? Chen Ning did not answer. Her eyes fell onto a pile of firewood behind the wooden shed. Her lips curled up and she gave a cold laugh as she said, "What, you have the guts to do it, but you don't have the guts to show yourself." Young miss, what are you talking about? How come this servant doesn't understand? Xiao Ru was confused. Chen Ning pushed Xiao Ru aside and walked over to the pile of firewood. She pulled out a stick of firewood. If you don't show yourself, I'll have to make a move. She was now 100% sure that someone had secretly helped her. Moreover, this person's martial arts were very high. Other than her, no one else had noticed it. She only knew some simple kung fu moves. She definitely didn't have such great strength to knock down more than a dozen maids and servants at once. It was the person behind her who secretly controlled her arm and threw more than a dozen slaps at a lightning speed that couldn't be concealed. Even now, her right arm was still sore. That person must have been hiding behind her, but when she looked back, other than the pile of firewood, there was no place for him to hide. It was quiet behind the pile of firewood, not even the sound of breathing could be heard. Chen Ning waited for a while and did not see anyone come out. She stomped her feet and walked behind the pile of firewood, but found that there was no one there. If there really was someone behind her, they would have already silently left. It really is a mysterious fellow. Only, why did this person help me teach those servants a lesson? She said to herself. She could not understand it no matter how much she thought about it. She had lived a strange life in the king's palace, so it was impossible for anyone to help her. She searched through the memories of the original owner and found that the original owner did not know anyone with high martial arts skills. Young miss, what are you looking for? Xiao Ru came over and looked at the pile of firewood with a puzzled expression. Nothing. Chen Ning shook her head. Young miss, you were truly impressive just now. When did you become this strong? This servant didn't know about it at all. Xiao Ru's little face turned red from excitement and her heart was filled with an indescribable sense of relief. Humph, let these dogs bully the young miss again. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and did not explain. Her clear eyes scanned her surroundings. She didn't know why, but she always felt that there was a pair of eyes staring at her in the dark. That kind of prickling feeling was definitely not an illusion. However, the other party was a friend and not an enemy. He had just done her a huge favor. Since the other party was not willing to show himself, she could not force him. of the matter just now, thank you. No matter what reason you have for helping me, I am grateful for this favor. She cleared her throat and said in a clear voice. She knew that the person hiding in the dark would definitely hear her. Xiao Ru's eyes went wide. It was strange, the young miss was actually talking to the air. Xiao Ru. Up. Xiao. Chen Ning pulled Xiao Ru's hand and picked up a lantern on the ground. After determining the direction, she walked forward. Xiao Ning. After beating up a puppy, there would soon be an old dog coming out to take revenge. Chapter 25. Young miss, where are we going? Are we escaping from the king's palace? Chen Ning held a lamp as she walked around the dark palace. Before they walked far, Xiao Ru was completely confused. Escape? Why would I need to escape? Chen Ning raised her brows. Because. Xiao Ru did not dare say it. Because I killed someone. Chen Ning helped her say it and gave a gentle laugh. You can relax, that maid is not dead. She just fainted temporarily. Xiao Ru let out a sigh of relief. She patted her chest. It's good, it's good. But, young miss, you've injured those people, so they will definitely report this to His Highness. His Highness will not let us go. Young miss, let's escape in the night. She quickly said in a worried voice. No, I won't escape. Chen Ning firmly said, if I leave this place one day, I won't be like last time, sneaking through a dog hole. I will leave openly and I will make Chu Xiaoyang kneel 3 times with each step I take as I leave the King Ding Yuan palace. She forcefully clenched her fists, filled with confidence. Xiao Ru's eyes popped out in shock. Was the young miss making a vow? But this was an impossible matter. Who was King Ding Yuan, Chu Xiaoyang? He was the blood-related nephew of the emperor. He had great power, only below one person and above tens of thousands. How could a proud person like him kneel 3 times with each step to the young miss? Chen Ning's eyes were like a cat's eyes, shining in the dark night. She had already taken out the route map of the king's palace from the original owner's memory. As long as it was a route the original owner had taken, she would clearly know it. She held Xiao Ru's hand like she was strolling through her own back garden. Turning east and going west. The more complicated the paths of the king's palace were, the more familiar she was with it. After walking for around the time it takes to make a cup of tea, a small stone bridge appeared in front of them. Behind the small stone bridge was a courtyard with blue tiles and white walls. It was strange. On the way here, they did not meet any patrolling guards or servants. Seeing the 2 large red happiness characters on the black doors, Xiao Ru couldn't help letting out a low cry. Young miss, it seems like we've returned to the bridal chamber. That's right, we're going to the bridal chamber. Chen Ning stepped onto the stone bridge and picked up the lantern. Looking around this remote area, her lips curled into a taunting smile. If it wasn't for the happiness word on the door, no one would have thought that this old house was the bridal chamber Chu Xiaoyang had prepared for his legal princess. Young miss, let's not go to the bridal chamber. If we enter the bridal chamber without His Highness' permission, His Highness will not be happy. Xiao Ru pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve, wanting to stop her. Hearing this, Chen Ning looked back and looked at Xiao Ru. Xiao Xiao, 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 Xiao Xiao, Xiao 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 said. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao 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 Ning. Xiao, Xiao was Xiao Xiao Ning. Xiao, the young miss, the you. Xiao, Xiao, that you. The more Xiao Ru thought about it, the more she felt that Chen Ning's words were reasonable. Chapter 26. Chen Ning's smile disappeared and her eyes revealed a thoughtful look. Other than the reason she had told Xiao Tao, she had another important reason for coming to the bridal chamber. That was to find the person who had poisoned her bird's nest porridge 3 days ago. The courtyard door was not bolted, so it opened with a gentle push. Inside was a small courtyard. After passing through a stone path, there was a row of 5 rooms. Chen Ning remembered that her bridal chamber was in the middle. Looking around, she saw that the other 4 rooms were completely dark. Only the room in the middle had candlelight, so it was clear that there was someone inside. She gave Xiao Ru a look and the 2 of them quietly walked over. When they arrived in front of the door, they saw that the door was ajar and there were 2 maidservants rummaging through the cabinets, picking and choosing. Elder sister Chen Tao, this princess is really poor. The dowry she brought is really shabby. The maidservant named Xia He had a round face. She took out a few pieces of Chen Ning's clothes from the suitcase. After looking at them, she threw them to the side with a look of disgust. That's right, I heard that she is not liked by anyone in the Duke's palace. What kind of good things could she have as a dowry? Let's quickly look through it and see if there's anything valuable. We'll just throw out the trash. Chen Tao had an oval face and 2 slanted eyebrows. She looked a bit harsh and her words were just as harsh as her appearance. When Xiao Ru saw these 2 maidservants, she couldn't help but become angry. She clearly remembered that these 2 maidservants were sent by His Highness to serve the young miss when the young miss was married. However, the 2 of them looked down on the young miss and ignored her. The young miss had fainted after drinking the bird's nest porridge. She had cried and begged the 2 maidservants to call a doctor and report to His Highness, but the 2 of them had coldly snorted. One said she had something to do and the other said her leg hurt, so they just left. When she took a closer look, she was so angry that her heart and lungs almost exploded. Because the boxes that the 2 maidservants were rummaging through were actually the young miss dowry. The 2 dowry boxes were open and the young miss dowry clothes were all messed up, scattered all over the ground. The 2 of them were still mocking the young miss for being poor. How could she endure it? When she was about to explode, Chen Ning pulled her back and whispered in her ear, "Shu, don't be impatient. Let's listen to what they're saying." "Yeah, elder sister Chen Tao, look at what I found. It's really beautiful." Xiahe took out 2 sachets from the bottom of the chest, one red and the other green. Although she didn't know what was inside, the 2 sachets were embroidered with gold and silver, which made them look different. When Xiao Ru saw this, she became excited and almost wanted to rush in to steal it. These 2 scented sachets were left behind by the late Madam to eldest young Mississippi. Eldest young Miss had always treated them as treasures. How could they fall into the hands of these 2 maidservants? Chen Ning reached out and grabbed her. She shook her head at her, telling her not to act rashly as she continued to look through the crack in the door. Xiao Ning. In the room, the 2 servant girls opened the sachet and took out 2 jade bracelets with a soft and beautiful luster. The 2 of them breathed heavily as they stared unblinkingly at the jade bracelets. Under the candlelight, the jade bracelets glowed and released an intoxicating glow. Chen Tao and Xia He had seen quite a few good things, so they did not care about normal things. But after seeing these 2 jade bracelets, the 2 of them could no longer remain calm. Chapter 27. I never thought that the poor princess would have this kind of good thing. Xia He caressed the jade bracelet and said in a loving voice. Little sister Xia He, let's quickly clean up these worthless things and throw them out." After Chen Tao obtained the jade bracelet, she did not care about anything else. She even spat on the clothes on the ground. Xiao Ru saw this and her eyes turned red with anger. Eldest Miss wasn't dead yet, but these 2 maids couldn't wait to throw away Eldest Miss' belongings as if they were scrap metal. They were really going too far. She could not hold it in any longer. She broke free from Chen Ning's hand and forcefully pushed open the door. She shouted, "You really are bold. These are all my young Miss Dowry. You two thieves. Who is it?" Chun Tao and Xia He did not think that there would be someone outside, so they were shocked. When they saw that it was Xiao Ru standing at the door, they both let out a sigh of relief and gave a snort. "Pay! So it's the dowry maid. If you aren't crying for your young miss, what are you doing here?" Chun Tao narrowed her eyes and did not even look at Xiao Ru. She picked up a piece of clothing and stuffed it into the box. They had received news that the princess had been captured by His Highness not long after she escaped and was locked up in the wooden hut. His Highness had even personally beaten the princess until she spat out blood and died. Moreover, he had already sent people to collect the princess' corpse. So these two maids took advantage of the fact that no one had come to collect Xin Ning's clothes to take away all the valuable things. "Take away your dirty hands, don't touch my young miss things." Xiao Ru charged into the room and took the clothes from Chun Tao's hands. Looking at the dirty clothes, tears almost fell down. "But these are all broken things, we don't care about them. You can take them all and take them to the pawn shop for some money. You can buy some paper money for your young miss to burn, so you and your maids won't be in vain." The one who spoke was Xia He. She curled her lips and said in a sarcastic manner, "You." Xiao Ru was so angry that she could not say anything. She pointed at the jade bracelet in their hands and shouted, "These are my young miss dowry items. You two thieves, give them back. Give them back to me." "What dowry? What thief? Don't spout nonsense here." Chun Tao and Xia He gave a cold laugh. "My Highness has already sent people to collect your young miss corpse. You should hurry and send her off. If you're late, you won't even be able to see your young miss for the last time." When their voices fell, they heard the door open with a dang sound. A cold wind blew in, causing the door to slightly shake. "Who is it, cursing me to death?" A low voice sounded at the door. Chun Tao and Xia He jumped in fright and looked towards the door at the same time. They saw a white-clothed figure standing in front of the door. His long hair draped over his shoulders, his face was expressionless and his eyes were staring straight ahead. "Ghost, there's a ghost." The two maids felt their hair stand on end and their teeth chattered. "Isn't this the princess's ghost?" The two of them were scared out of their wits and almost fainted. "If you don't do anything shameful, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. You two are this scared of me, did you do something shameful?" Chen Ning revealed a faint smile. Her clear-as-water eyes looked over the two maids' faces as she walked into the room. There were 2 candles in the room and her shadow was drawn out by the candlelight, reflecting on the blue brick floor. When Xiahe lowered her head and saw it, she immediately became bolder. Chapter 28. So it's the princess. Why aren't you dead yet? Xiahe knit her brows. Her voice did not contain any respect at all. What, do you want me to die that much? Chen Ning looked at the jade bracelet on her wrist and curled her lips into a smile. That's right. If I die, you can take this ice flower hibiscus jade bracelet for yourself, right? Xiahe's face turned red. She hid her right hand behind her and loudly said, What ice flower hibiscus jade bracelet? This servant does not understand what the princess is saying. He, and you. Chen Ning turned to Chun Tao and looked at her wrist. She smiled and said, The jade bracelet you're wearing is called the Heaven River Golden Silk Jade. It is also incomparably precious. You really have good eyes. Chun Tao's face turned white, but she calmly said, This bracelet was given to this servant by this servant's mother. This servant is ignorant, so I don't know what it is called. Seeing the two maids lying through their teeth, clearly stealing the young Miss jade bracelet and saying it was their family's. Xiao Ru's face couldn't help turning red. You really are shameless. She pointed at the two arrogant maids and was so angry that she couldn't say anything. She turned to look at Chen Ning. Young miss, they stole your bracelet, you have to properly teach them a lesson. The scene of Chen Ning beating up several maids and servants was still fresh in her mind. She believed that the young miss would not let go of these two thieves who had stolen her things. Chen Ning did not seem to notice her expectant eyes. Not only was she not angry, her lips curled up and she began to smile. This is my first time meeting these two elder maidservants, so I don't have anything good to give you. These two bracelets can be considered my greeting gift to you too. As long as the two elder sisters like it, it's fine. She said with a smile. What? Xiao Ru and the other two maids could not believe their ears. Young miss, you. Xiao Ru's eyes opened wide and she said in a voice filled with disbelief, how could you give away the things that the madam left for you? You even gave it to these two cheap people? Did you forget what they did to you? They didn't help you and even added insult to injury. She felt that the domineering young miss had disappeared. She had become the timid person from before. Her heart was filled with anxiousness and tears almost came out. Chun Tao and Xia He were very proud as they gave a snort. This princess consort had good eyes and knew how to please them. It had to be known that a fallen phoenix was not as good as a chicken. A Wang Fei that was not favored and had lost her power. In the future, her status in this Wang Fu would be lower than a servant girl. Since it's the princess consort's reward, it would be disrespectful for us servants to refuse. The two maidservants gave a fake smile. Xia He paused before continuing, Wang Fei is a noble person. Nubi is not worthy of being called Jijie. Nubi is called Xia He and she is Chun Tao. If Wang Fei does not have any orders, Nubi will take her leave and not accompany Wang Fei to chat. She pretended to bow to Qin Ning and then prepared to leave with an arrogant look on her face. Xiao was the Mingyu, she the same to you, she said. These two's acting even more important than the young miss. Moreover, once they left the house, they must have gone to report to the prince. Who do you think you are? Get out of the way. Xia He stared at them and reached out to hit them. She was the daughter of a servant in the king's palace and her parents were servants with face, so she had always thought that she was superior to others. She did not even put Qin Ning in her eyes, not to mention a mere Xiao Ru. Chapter 29. Chen Ning grabbed her wrist and said with a smile, Xia He, Chun Tao, don't be in such a hurry to leave. I still have gifts for you. Gifts? What gifts? The two maids curled their lips in disdain. They had already turned Qin Ning's two dowry chests upside down and they had only found this pair of jade bracelets. The rest were all trash that couldn't even enter their eyes. Xiao Ru, close the door. I want to give these two a large gift, we can't let others see it. Chen Ning smiled at Xiao Ru, it was like a spring breeze. Seeing Chen Ning smile, Xiao Ru's spirit was lifted. When the young miss was teaching the servants a lesson, she was also like this. She was smiling at first and then. She closed the door immediately, understanding his meaning. Princess, if you have any gifts, quickly take them out. We are very busy, we don't have time to stay here. Before Xia He could finish, with a pa sound, a clear slap landed on the right side of her face, instantly stunning her. Her eyes popped out in disbelief. Looking at the calm Qin Ning in front of her, she screamed out, You dare hit me. Pa! Another heavy slap to the face. Xia He felt a buzzing in her ears, and tears came out of her eyes. How is it? Is this gift heavy? Do you like it? Chen Ning smiled as she looked at her. If it's not heavy enough, I have something even heavier. The princess is hitting someone. You dare hit little sister Xia He, I'll report this to His Highness. Chun Tao was very clever. Seeing that the situation was bad, she ran out the door. Chen Ning stretched out her foot and she fell flat on her face. Alright, go and tell His Highness that I, Chen Ning, did not die and came back alive. Chen Ning remembered how Chun Tao had slandered her behind her back and even spat on her clothes. She grabbed her hair and mercilessly gave her a few slaps in the face. Chun Tao's oval face instantly swelled up like a pumpkin. Xiao Ru clapped her hands as she watched. Her brows flew up and her heart filled with joy. This little bitch Tao's mouth was even sharper than Xia He's. She deserved to be taught a lesson by the young miss. You wait. His Highness will not let you go. Xia He's eyes were swollen to a slit. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she glared at Chen Ning. Chen Ning couldn't help feeling happy. She really was a stupid girl. She had already been beaten into a pig's head by herself, yet she was still so stubborn. Alright, go and tell Chu Xiaoyang. I was just about to ask him how to deal with the crime of poisoning the princess. I wanted to ask him about this. Although Ning Xiaoru had opened the door, she was still sitting on the ground, not moving at all. Xia He's face was pale. Although Xiaoru had opened the door, she was still sitting on the ground. However, Chun Tao crawled up and ran outside. Chen Ning's eyes flashed and she grabbed the teapot on the table and threw it over. It hit Chun Tao's leg and she fell to the ground with a pu-tong sound. Xiao. If anyone else dares to run, take a stick and break their legs. Chen Ning coldly said. Xiaoru loudly replied and slammed the door shut. With one hand on her waist and the other holding a stick of firewood, she stood guard at the door. Her eyes were staring at the two maidservants. Chun Tao and Xia He finally realized that this was bad. The two of them looked at Chen Ning with eyes filled with fear. Chen Ning smiled and nodded. This was more like it. Chapter 30. She stood up from the chair and walked over to Xia He. Xia He couldn't help shrinking back as her eyes filled with fear. Seeing Chen Ning was like seeing a demon from hell. Was she that terrifying? Chen Ning couldn't help curling her lips. She stopped in front of Xia He and looked down at her. Her lips slightly curled up as she revealed a sweet smile. But when Xia He saw that smile, she couldn't help but shiver. She didn't know why, but Chen Ning's smile was even more terrifying than her stern words. You. What? What do you want to do? She shrank back in fear. I'll ask and you'll answer. If you dare tell a single lie, don't blame me for giving you another heavy gift. Chen Ning said with a faint smile. She had a smile on her face, but there was no smile in her eyes at all. Xia He's body trembled as she quickly nodded. Of course she understood what heavy gift Chen Ning was talking about. If the princess consort asks, this servant will definitely answer truthfully. Very good. 3 days ago, the person who poisoned my bird's nest porridge, was it you? Chen Ning looked right into her eyes and directly asked this question. Xia He couldn't help turning her eyes. She immediately shook her head and said, No, it wasn't me. It wasn't this servant. It wasn't you. Chen Ning revealed a smile. She was an expert in micro-expressions from the modern era. She was an expert in analyzing a person's body language and expression to guess what was going on in their mind, distinguishing truth from lies. So whether Xia He was telling the truth or lying, she could tell with a single glance. Her smile disappeared and she said in a sharp voice, Xiaoru, give her a heavy beating for me. Beat this cheap lying servant. Xia He's heart trembled as she was filled with fear. Princess consort, it really wasn't this servant. This servant didn't poison it, this servant doesn't know anything. She was really stubborn even when she was about to die. Chen Ning couldn't help shaking her head. With Xia He's lying skills, if she wanted to trick her, she wouldn't be able to do it even if she practiced for another 10 years. Very good, you're still lying. Xiao Ru, then beat this cheap servant until she's willing to tell the truth. She took a step back with an expressionless face. Xiao Ru came forward with a stick of firewood and hit Xia He's thigh. Xia He let out a pitiful cry. But Xiao Ru still felt this wasn't enough. Stick after stick, she hit Xia He until Xia He crawled on the ground. She remembered clearly that 3 days ago, First Miss was poisoned and fell into a coma. She knelt down and begged Xiahe to get a doctor to save her life. However, Xiahe spat at her and walked away. This kind of heartless person who did not save others deserved to be beaten. Princess consort, spare me, spare me. Stop hitting me, I've confessed. I did it, I did it. Xia He screamed in pain. Finally, she couldn't bear the pain anymore. She cried and admitted it. Xiao Ru, stop. Chen Ning raised her hand. Xiao Ru put down the stick and angrily glared at Xia He. She scolded, you really have a cruel heart, my family's young miss has no grudges with you, why would you poison her? Xiao 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 Ning, she was in Xiao 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 B, Xiao she said. Xiao 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 Can. You cheap servant, you still want to argue. Xiao Ru angrily raised the stick. Xiao 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 she her, shout. Xia He. Chapter 31. Her eyes were as clear as an autumn lake, but there was a glint in them that people could not look at. Xia He lowered her head with a guilty conscience. She felt that in front of Chen Ning, she was transparent. All of her thoughts could be clearly seen by the other side. 3 days ago, on the night of the princess' marriage, the kitchen sent a bowl of bird's nest porridge. This servant was preparing to give it to the princess when a maid suddenly came out of the room. She said that she was the princess' dowry maid and gave me a bag of things, telling me to put it in the porridge. You're lying. Before Xia He could finish, she was interrupted by Xiao Ru's angry voice. You're lying. The princess only had me as her dowry maid and I did not give you anything that night. Young miss, she has wronged me. Xiao Ru was angry and anxious as her face turned red. When Xia He heard the word lie, she broke out in a cold sweat. She quickly said, this servant is telling the truth, I'm not lying. Chen Ning nodded and softly said, I know, continue. Xia He let out a sigh of relief. She wiped the cold sweat off her forehead and said, that maid said that the princess consort is sick. This paper bag contains the medicine that the doctor prescribed for the princess consort, but the princess consort is not willing to drink it, so she had this servant mix it in the bird's nest porridge for the princess consort to drink. When this servant saw her come out of the room, I believed her and did as she said. This servant never would have thought that after the princess drank that bowl of porridge, she would immediately spit out blood and fall unconscious. This servant knew that this was bad. When I rushed to find that maid, I found that she was nowhere to be found. Princess, this servant was stupid and fell for someone else's trap, but this servant really did not know what was in that bag and did not want to harm the princess' life. Everything this servant has said is the truth, there is no falsehood. I asked the princess to investigate this. After she finished speaking, she kneeled on the ground and began to kowtow. Xiao Ru was so angry that her body began to tremble. She wanted to charge forward and rip off Xia He's mouth. Young miss, she is just speaking nonsense. This servant has never given her a paper bag and has never said those kinds of nonsense. If this servant wants to harm you, then this servant will be reincarnated as a bastard and will never be able to turn over again. She kneeled down in front of Chen Ning and made a vow. She was so anxious that her tears began to come out. Young miss, this servant is a bastard. Chen Ning couldn't help laughing. She pulled Xiao Ru's hand to help her stand up and said with a smile, "Silly girl, I have never doubted you. In this world, anyone can harm me, only you can't." Her words were like a warm current and Xiao Ru's heart was filled with warmth. Young miss. Xiao Ru's heart was filled with tears. Chen Ning smiled as she patted the back of her hand. Then she turned around and looked at Xia He with a serious expression. Although she could not see it, she felt as if she was. After a while, Chen Ning slowly said, "All right, I believe you. You can get up." "Yes, Princess Consort." Xia He kowtowed to Chen Ning again before standing up in a pleasantly surprised manner. "Yes, Princess Consort." Chen Ning cleared her throat and stood up. "This servant is here." The two maids replied in unison. They couldn't help becoming respectful. "Servant is here." The two servant girls replied in unison, their demeanor involuntarily becoming respectful. Chapter 32. I will only ask you one question. From now on, will you be loyal to me or will you be loyal to Chu Xiaoyang? Chen Ning slowly said word for word. Chen Tao and Xia He couldn't help looking at each other in blank dismay, not understanding Chen Ning's meaning. Being loyal to His Highness and the princess, was there a difference? If you're loyal to Chu Xiaoyang, then you're his dogs. One of you disrespected me and the other secretly poisoned me, so I'll properly settle this debt with you. But if you are willing to be loyal to me, then no matter what you did in the past, I will let bygones be bygones. Think about it carefully before making your decision. Chen Ning gently said. Chen Tao and Xia He had nervous expressions, but after hearing Chen Ning's words, they both let out a sigh of relief. Without even thinking, they kneeled down in front of Chen Ning and said in unison, "These servants are willing to forever be loyal to the princess consort." The princess consort's question was like asking if they liked red braised meat or stinky shit. There was no need to think about it at all. Very good. Chen Ning had a serious expression as her cold eyes fell onto the two maidservants' faces. She nodded and said, "Since you have decided to be loyal to me, then you will be my, Chen Ning's people from now on. In this king's palace, you only need to listen to my orders. As for the words of the other cats and dogs, you don't need to pay attention to them, do you understand?" Cats and dogs. Xiao Ru almost burst out laughing. The young miss was pointing at the mulberry tree and scolding King Ding Yuan. "These servants will remember." Chen Tao and Xia He replied in unison. Chen Ning looked at the two of them with a serious expression. "To be my people, I only have one requirement. That is, loyalty. If you are going to act one way on the surface and do something like betraying your master for glory, then tell me, how should this princess punish you?" This was the first time she had put on the airs of a princess, speaking with a stern expression. Chen Tao and Xia He's hearts turned cold as they replied in unison, "These servants will not dare betray the princess consort, please be assured. You can stand up." Chen Ning waved her hand. The two maidservants finally dared to stand up. Their faces were filled with fear and they no longer had the arrogant appearance they had when they first met. When Xiao Ru saw this, she was filled with admiration towards Chen Ning. The young miss was truly too strong. With just a few moves, she had completely subdued these two maidservants who had their eyes on top of their heads. "It's already late, this princess wants to rest. You can leave now." Chen Ning waved her hand. "Yes, princess consort." The two maidservants bowed to Chen Ning before respectfully retreated. "Wait a minute. Chen Ning suddenly said. Princess consort, what orders do you have? We servants will immediately do our best to carry it out. The two of them stood still. Did you forget to leave something behind? Chen Ning revealed a smile as she looked at their wrists. Chun Tao and Xia he suddenly remembered. They quickly took off their jade bracelets and placed them in front of Chen Ning. It was this servant's greed, please forgive us, princess consort. Their hearts trembled. Stealing something from the princess consort, this was a big crime. If the princess consort pursued this matter, the two of them would not be able to bear the consequences. Fine, as long as you are loyal to this princess, there will be many benefits for you in the future. You can leave now. Chen Ning put away the jade bracelets and magnanimously decided not to pursue this matter. Chapter 33. Chen Ning leaned back in the chair and lazily said, My eyes have never misjudged a person. That Xia he did not lie, so I don't think they would report it to Chu Xiaoyang. Woo, I'm so tired. She gave a yawn and stood up, walking over to the bed. Too many things had happened that day. She was tired, and all she wanted was a good sleep. She had to conserve her energy, because what awaited her the next day was likely to be another storm. She fell onto the bed and closed her eyes, almost immediately falling asleep. Young Miss, Xiaoru stood in front of the bed, hesitating to speak. Chen Ning suddenly opened her eyes and tapped the tip of Xiaoru's nose. With an intimate smile, she said, You little girl, if I don't solve the questions in your heart, you won't be able to sleep. That's right, young miss. Xiaoru nodded with a bitter face, just tell this servant is about to die of curiosity. You want to ask me why I'm so sure that Xia he is telling the truth, right? Chen Ning smiled. That's right, young miss. Xiaoru's mouth opened into a circle. Her thoughts had been guessed by Chen Ning once again. How was this possible? Come up and sleep with me and I'll tell you. Chen Ning looked at the dark circles under Xiaoru's eyes and felt a little distressed. Xiaoru immediately obediently climbed onto the bed and slept beside her. Her eyes were wide open, not moving at all. She was like a little girl waiting for her to tell her a story. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and lovingly rubbed Xiaoru's hair. Then she blew out the candle and the two of them lay down. The moonlight was like water as it slowly fell in through the window, illuminating the room in a silver-white color. If you want to tell if a person is telling the truth or lying, it's not hard. You just have to pay attention to their every move, especially their eyes. Under Xiaoru's expectant gaze, Chen Ning finally slowly opened her mouth. She tried her best to make it easy to understand. When she is telling the truth, her eyes will remain straight or slightly move. If she is lying, her eyes will involuntarily move to the upper right. Think about it carefully. When I suddenly asked Xia He if she was the one who poisoned me, did her eyes move to the upper right? Xiaoru tilted her head and thought about it. Then she suddenly clapped her hands and shouted, It did, it did. She looked at Chen Ning with a look of worship. Young miss, how do you know so much? This servant remembers that you weren't like this before. You seem like a completely different person now. The smile on Chen Ning's face froze. But she couldn't tell Xiaoru the truth. If she knew that she was a wandering soul from the modern era, this honest girl would definitely faint from fright. All right, now close your eyes and go to sleep. She glared at Xiaoru. Xiaoru immediately stuck out her tongue and obediently closed her eyes. After a while, her breathing became heavy and she fell asleep. Ning, Xiaoru, Xiao, Ning, Xiao. Just as she was in a daze, she suddenly heard a chuckle beside her ear, as if someone had blown a breath of air into her ear, causing her to wake up in an instant. Who is it? She opened her eyes and asked in a deep voice. There was a figure standing in front of her bed with his back facing the moonlight. His appearance could not be seen and the clothes on his body were fluttering in the wind, making him look like a ghost. Opening one's eyes in the middle of the night and suddenly seeing a ghost in front of their bed, a person would probably faint from fright. Chen Ning was very calm. She picked up the candlestick on the side of the bed and threw it at the ghost. Chapter 34. "Oh, so fierce." That ghost shadow let out a chuckle. He reached out and grabbed the candlestick, not making a single sound at all. Chen Ning quickly stood up. She had been lying down with all her clothes on, as if she had already expected someone to appear. She jumped off the bed and reached out with her right hand to grab the ghost shadow's wrist. Her movements were very clean. This was one of the women's self-defense moves and she was very familiar with it. As long as she grabbed his wrist, she would immediately throw him over her shoulder. Even her instructor would occasionally be caught off guard by her. However, the ghostly figure lightly flashed and dodged the attack. Chen Ning followed with a sweep and hook with her right foot. These two moves were very beautiful. There had never been a person in the fighting hall that could escape her three moves. But that ghost shadow easily dodged it and it was very easy. His right hand stretched out and pulled back. Taking advantage of Chen Ning not being able to stand up, he suddenly touched her cheek and said with a smile, "So smooth." This was the first time she had been taken advantage of after crossing over. Chen Ning's heart was shocked, but she did not panic. She turned her hand to grab, but she only grabbed air. She knew that she had met an expert this time, so she focused all of her attention and calmly faced the battle. Every move, she had a sense of when to advance and when to retreat. But that ghost shadow seemed like he was deliberately playing with her. If Chen Ning attacked quickly, he would dodge quickly. If Chen Ning attacked slowly, he would also be slow. Chen Ning sent out a few punches and kicks, but they all hit air. She suddenly stopped and no longer attacked. She just coldly looked at the ghost shadow in front of her. She understood that her martial arts couldn't compare to the opponent's by 1,000 miles. Since she couldn't beat him, she wouldn't waste her energy. The ghost shadow's clothes slightly swayed as he stood a foot away from her without moving. It seemed like as long as Chen Ning threw out a punch, she would be able to break his nose. But Chen Ning knew in her heart that even if she was 10 times faster, she would not be able to even touch the corner of the opponent's clothes. "Who are you?" She gritted her teeth and asked in a cold voice. Guiying tilted his head and imitated her tone of voice as he asked, "Who are you?" His voice was as pleasant as a thin layer of ice and jade. It was a man. Moreover, it was a very young man. Chen Ning immediately concluded, but this voice was very unfamiliar to her. This was the first time she had heard it, so it definitely wasn't that trash Chu Xiaoyang. "Hiding behind the pile of firewood and helping me teach those dog servants a lesson, was it you?" Chen Ning's mind lit up and she had already guessed who the ghost shadow was. Guiying was slightly startled, as though he was somewhat surprised, but he did not deny it. He chuckled and said, "That's right, it's me. I did you such a big favor, but you hit my head with a candlestick. You're really biting the hand that feeds you." He smiled and placed the candle back on the table in front of the bed. As he turned, the moonlight shone on his face. Under the moonlight, a clear and elegant face appeared in front of Chen Ning. His eyebrows were exquisite, just like a beautiful painting. "So it's you." Chen Ning knit her brows and immediately recognized him. This ghostly shadow was actually the beautiful youth that he had met at Chu Xiaoyang's wedding banquet. Seeing Chen Ning's frown, the handsome young man couldn't help rubbing his nose. A trace of depression appeared in his heart. What kind of disgusted expression was that? His looks were unparalleled in the world. Which girl in the capital didn't fall head over heels for him when they saw him? Chapter 35. Who are you? Why are you helping me? What goal do you have? Chen Ning's tone did not become better because of this beautiful young man's beauty, rather it became even worse. With just a few words, the beautiful young man almost couldn't breathe. He couldn't help raising his peach blossom eyes. The faint smile on his lips disappeared as he angrily stared at Chen Ning. What goal do you think I have for helping you? He countered with a question. Humph, how would I know? You and that Chu Xiaoyang are in cahoots with each other. What good intentions would you have by helping me? Chen Ning gave a cold laugh and her voice was filled with sarcasm. Everyone who appeared at the wedding banquet today was her enemy. Did this young man think she was blind and couldn't recognize him? You. The beautiful young man almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He had helped her teach those servants a lesson, but he had been cursed at by her. He had never been cursed at like this before in his life. Good intentions are not rewarded. A little girl like you has such a sharp tongue, no wonder my third brother doesn't like you. The beautiful young man was filled with anger as he angrily waved his sleeve. A gust of wind suddenly flew out and Chen Ning was involuntarily pushed back several steps, almost falling to the ground. She stood still and her eyes sparkled. Your third brother. Chu Xiaoyang. Does this mean that you are Chu Xiaoyang's little brother? She carefully looked at him and found that his facial features were indeed similar to Chu Xiaoyang's, but he had a more elegant temperament than Chu Xiaoyang. Humph, I wasn't wrong. You all crawled out of the same nest, none of you are good things. She gave a cold laugh. How am I not a good thing? The beautiful young man angrily gritted his teeth. In the middle of the night, you appeared in a girl's room. Not to mention my current status, I am your third brother's princess and your sister-in-law. With this kind of sneaky behavior, what kind of good person are you? Chen Ning looked at him with disdain. The beautiful young man choked again. He found that he was normally quite eloquent, but he didn't know why, but in front of Chen Ning, he was being suppressed. What kind of sister-in-law are you? My third brother has not touched you at all. The person in his heart is not you, but rather the second Miss Chen that he just married, your little sister. Chen, Bai, Yun. The beautiful young man was filled with rage at Chen Ning, not knowing what to say. He thought that Chen Ning would be very sad hearing this because everyone in the capital knew that the idiot young miss of the Qin family was infatuated with King Ding Yuan and had already become a laughing stock. A trash man and a cheap woman, I really have to congratulate them. A trash man and a cheap woman, I really have to congratulate them. When Chen Ning heard Chu Xiaoyang's name, her heart filled with disgust. Her previous self must have been blind to fall for that kind of cheap man. You really not interested in my third brother? The beautiful young man clicked his tongue in wonder. His figure suddenly flashed and he came closer. His nose almost touched Chen Ning's face as he said with a joyful expression, You don't like my third brother, but what do you think of me? Do you think I'm worthy of you with my looks and character? His voice was filled with narcissism and his smile was filled with confidence. Chen Ning took a step back and maintained a safe distance from him. She stared at his smiling face, simply speechless. In both her previous and current lives, she had never seen such a narcissistic man before. Chapter 36. Chen Ning's patience was almost exhausted by him. She was very tired and did not want to waste any more time with him. She could not understand why he would suddenly appear in her room in the middle of the night. Could it be to help Chu Xiaoyang investigate her situation? Or was it to satisfy his curiosity? So she raised her hand and gave his narcissistic face a tight slap. Paw! A clear and loud sound rang out. The beautiful young man was stunned by this slap. With his skills, if he wanted to dodge, even if there were 100 Chin Nings, they would not be able to hit him. But he never would have dreamed that Chin Ning would actually slap him and she would do it just like that. This slap was very light and it left 5 red finger marks on his white face. You dare slap my face? After being stunned for a while, he suddenly covered his face and jumped up like a cat that had its tail stepped on. He pointed at Chin Ning and his eyes were filled with flames of anger. This is slapping your face. Next time you dare speak to me like this, I'll slap your butt. Little brat. Chin Ning disdainfully curled her lips. What little brat? You. Do you believe that I won't slap you? The beautiful young man's face turned red and his chest began to beat up. His hands were clenched into fists and his joints began to crack. She actually dared to laugh at him. If it wasn't for the fact that she was a woman, he would have already knocked out all of her teeth. I say, little brat, elder sister is tired and wants to sleep. Go somewhere cool and stay there. Have a safe journey, I won't send you off. Chin Ning did not care about the other side's threat at all. She was so tired that she could not even open her eyes. She gave a large yawn and walked over to the bed to lie down. She began to snore as soon as she closed her eyes. The beautiful young man gritted his teeth and his eyes opened wide in disbelief. He did not dare believe that there was this kind of woman in this world. After she slapped him, she acted like nothing had happened. She laid down on the bed and went to sleep, not caring that he was still in her room. He was a real man. Was she not worried that he would do something to her? Chin Ning slept very sweetly this time. After she woke up, she felt full of energy and was filled with energy. The early spring sun shined through the window paper, making it look bright and warm. She sat up on the bed and looked up. She found that the beautiful young man had already disappeared. She couldn't help curling her lips into a faint smile. It was exactly as she had expected, the beautiful young man did not have any ill intentions towards her. Looking at his face, she could already see that the young man's eyes were filled with curiosity and a bit of mischief. He was not the same kind of person as his third brother Chu Xiaoyang. However, in order to prevent him from pestering her, she still slapped him away. Only then was she able to sleep soundly. Young miss, Chin said. This servant has brought some water for you to wash your face. The door was pushed open and Xiao Ru came in with a basin of water, walking in front of the bed. Chen Ning nodded. Xiao Ru put down the basin and picked up a snow-white towel to give to Chen Ning. When she suddenly saw her face, she couldn't help screaming. Young miss, your face. Young miss, your face. She pointed at Chen Ning's face. Her mouth was wide open and her face was filled with surprise. Young miss, your face. She pointed at Chen Ning's face. Her mouth was wide open and her face was filled with surprise. Chen Ning touched it and felt nothing strange, but when she saw Xiao Ru's expression, it was like she was greatly shocked. Chen Ning touched it and felt that there was nothing strange. But when she saw Xiao Ru's expression, it was like she was greatly shocked. Chapter 37. The bronze mirror was polished to the point that it could reflect a person's reflection, clearly showing her face. She saw that there were 2 animals drawn on her left and right cheeks. The lines were simple, but they were still very lifelike. On the left was a fox with half-closed eyes and a smile that was not a smile. Its expression was very similar to hers. On the right side of his face, there was a drawing of a wolf. His eyes were rolled back and his sharp claws were exposed. Chen Ning didn't need to think to know who made these 2 ink paintings. Other than that handsome youth, who else could it be? She had slapped him, and he had taken his revenge by drawing 2 animals on her face. He really was a vengeful person. As for why he had drawn a wolf on her face, he was clearly calling her a white-eyed wolf, repaying kindness with enmity. Chen Ning was filled with anger, but she did not know why. But when she saw the 2 lifelike paintings on her face, especially the sly appearance of the little fox, she couldn't help but let out a poochie laugh. This little brat better not appear in front of her again, otherwise she would definitely teach him an unforgettable lesson. She washed her face and saw Xiao Ru looking at her with a strange expression. She softly said, "I drew this for fun, don't tell anyone." Xiao Ru nodded. She swallowed all the questions in her stomach and muttered in her heart. The young Miss hobby was truly interesting. She actually used her own face as a canvas to draw. But those 2 little animals were really well drawn, they were really similar. Chen Ning's eyes swept across the room and fell onto the 2 gold-painted red boxes. These were the dowry that she had brought with her. They had been turned upside down by Chun Tao and Xia He yesterday. Xiao Ru had already tidied them up and the clothes inside were all neatly arranged. "Young miss, this servant has hidden the 2 bracelets that the madam left for you under your bed. This time, no one will steal them," Xiao Ru said. Thinking of yesterday's scene, she couldn't help grinding her teeth. If it wasn't for the young miss suppressing those 2 maidservants, these 2 bracelets would already be gone. Everyone in the King Ding Yuan palace was not a good person. What she couldn't understand was that eldest young miss had clearly caught the maidservant red-handed. Why did she let them off so easily? Servants like them who stole their master's things would definitely steal a second time after stealing once. She should have chased both of them out of the room. Chen Ning looked up and saw Xiao Tao's indignant expression. Her eyes turned and she had already guessed what she was thinking. "Do you want to ask me why I didn't punish them for their crimes or kick them out instead of letting them live?" Xiao Ru forcefully nodded. She was already used to the young miss guessing her thoughts, so she wasn't surprised at all. "Yes, eldest miss, this servant doesn't understand." "Are there no other servants in this residence?" "Of course I have servants, but can you guarantee that the new servants will be loyal to me?" Chen Ning asked with a smile. "Of course I have servants, but can you guarantee that they will be loyal to me?" This. Xiao Ru was speechless. As for Chun Tao and Xia He, one of them poisoned me and the other stole my belongings. These are both serious crimes, so I won't pursue it. Naturally they will be grateful to me. Moreover, I have their weaknesses in my hands, so wouldn't they be more useful to me than the servants sent in from the outside? Chen Ning patiently explained. Chapter 38. Chen Ning tapped her forehead with a smile and said, "Silly girl, it's not that I don't like your service, it's just that you and I have just entered the palace and we are unfamiliar with the palace, so we don't understand anything. We are just like blind and deaf people, but Chun Tao and Xia He are different. Chun Tao has served the palace for many years and Xia He is a daughter of the palace's servants. Her parents are all famous servants, so if they are loyal to me, we will have 2 more pairs of eyes and ears in the palace. It will be much more convenient for us to do anything in the future. Don't you think so?" She patiently enticed. Xiao Ru nodded her head hearing this and said with a face of worship, "Young miss, you really know too much. Even if this servant breaks my head, I still wouldn't be able to think of these things." Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "Stop flattering me. Let me ask you, is my dowry only these 2 boxes?" She remembered that she was originally the young miss of the country protecting palace. As the eldest daughter of the country protecting palace, her dowry was only 2 boxes. Wouldn't it be a big joke if this was known? No wonder everyone in the King Ding Yuan palace looked down on her. Even Chun Tao and Xia He thought her dowry was too shabby. "That's right, young miss. Once the dowry was mentioned, Xiao Ru revealed an angry expression. Madam clearly left 20 boxes of dowry for you, but when you got married, second madam only prepared these 2 inconspicuous boxes for you as dowry. The remaining 18 boxes were all kept by her. As a result, the entire city laughed at you. Not only did they laugh at your shabby dowry, but they also said that you weren't master's biological daughter, so they couldn't even bear to buy a dowry for you. You didn't see King Ding Yuan's face on the day of your marriage. It was even uglier than eating shit. He didn't even bow to you and directly sent you to the bridal room. Do you not remember all of this? Second madam. Chen Ning searched through the memories of the original owner and found that it was exactly as Xiao Ru said. The second madam that Xiao Ru mentioned was her stepmother, Madam Lin, and also Chen Baiyun's birth mother. Her dead mother had indeed prepared a very rich dowry for her. It was rich to the point that her stepmother and little sister were jealous, but it was a pity that the original owner did not notice it at all. Then what about my 18 boxes of dowry? Chen Ning asked. This servant doesn't know, but this servant guessed that second Furen must have given eldest young Mrs. dowry to second young Miss as part of your dowry. Those 18 chests were all priceless things that Furen had prepared for you. The value of each chest was immeasurable, but the 2 dowry chests that second Furen had given you only had a few pieces of worthless silk and satin and clothes. This servant is so angry. Those 2 jade bracelets were something that this servant kept and I stole from the boxes. If the second madam and the second miss saw them, they would definitely be jealous and would take them away from the young miss. Hearing this, Chen Ning couldn't help cursing the original owner for being an idiot. She pitied her misfortune and was angry at her for not fighting back. She never thought that the original Chen Ning would be bullied to this degree by this black-hearted mother and daughter pair. They stole her dowry, stole her husband, and even harmed her life. It was no wonder that she was so unwilling when she left and died with her eyes wide open. Very good, now that her soul from the 21st century had entered the original owner's body, she would take back the debt that everyone owed her. Blood for blood. She would make everyone who owed the original owner pay the price. Chapter 39. In Qin Baiyun's intoxicated flower pavilion, Chu Xiaoyang suddenly gave a large sneeze. He looked out the window with a puzzled expression. There was no wind outside. Chen Baiyun was leaning against the headboard. Her personal maid Lan Xiang was holding a bowl of tonic, feeding it to her. Her watery eyes did not leave Chu Xiaoyang for a second as they were filled with sweetness and tenderness. Seeing Chu Xiaoyang sneeze, she stopped drinking the tonic and immediately ordered Lan Xiang, "Bring a cloak for His Highness. It's windy outside, so your highness must be careful." Her voice was filled with concern. Yesterday in the wedding hall, she had been exposed by Chen Ning in front of everyone and had lost all face. She had angered Chu Xiaoyang because of this and almost lost his favor. It was a good thing that she had fallen and moved the baby. Chu Xiaoyang's worry for her fell into her eyes and she was filled with confidence again. Chu Xiaoyang's worry for her fell into her eyes and she was filled with confidence. As long as she could protect this child, as long as she could win Chu Xiaoyang's heart, the position of the Ding Yuan princess would be hers sooner or later. But the hatred she had for Chen Ning in her heart was even deeper. No need. Chu Xiaoyang pushed away the cloak Lan Xiang brought and walked in front of the bed. He looked at Chen Baiyun's charming face and slightly knit his brows. "Your Highness, has this concubine made you unhappy?" Seeing Chu Xiaoyang knit his brows, Chen Baiyun's heart jumped into her throat. She wanted to sit up on the bed, but she was stopped by Chu Xiaoyang. There is something I need to tell you." His voice was not good as his chin tightened. "What is it?" Chen Baiyun became even more nervous. She looked over with a guilty conscience. Chu Xiaoyang did not notice her expression. His face was cold as he said, "Chen Ning. She's not dead. His voice was dry and did not have a trace of warmth. When the people he had sent to collect Qin Ning's corpse came back to report, he almost did not dare believe this fact. He had clearly seen her spit out blood and her body twitch, knowing that she wouldn't live for long. But in the blink of an eye, the people collecting the corpse said that they had all been taught a fierce lesson by Qin Ning. The leading maid had even fainted from a kick from Qin Ning's shoe. How was this possible? However, after he carefully examined the injuries of more than a dozen people, his expression turned serious. The faces of the servants were swollen with finger marks. It was impossible for a miss who had been raised in the boudoir to cause such injuries, especially the injured and unconscious old maid. Her internal organs were obviously injured by the shock of her internal force. Could it be that the Qin family's idiot young miss knew martial arts? If she really knew martial arts, then the blood spitting and fainting last night was faking it. She knew martial arts. Once he thought of how he had been tricked by Qin Ning, the anger in Chu Xiaoyang's heart soared and he couldn't suppress it at all. Ning is not dead. Chen Baiyun was shocked. Her heart was filled with hate, but her face immediately revealed a surprised and happy expression. Your Highness, elder sister didn't do it on purpose yesterday in the wedding hall, so you must not be angry at elder sister. It was all this concubine's fault, it was all my fault. Saying this, she struggled to get off the bed. Concubine consort, you have to be careful of your body. The doctor said that your fetus has been affected, so you have to stay in bed. No matter what, you can't get off the bed. Her trusted maid Lan Xiang immediately said. But, if I can't obtain elder sister's forgiveness, this concubine will not be able to rest. Chen Baiyun said with tears in her eyes. Chapter 40. Yunhe, you better obediently lie down here for me. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Chu Xiaoyang hugged Chen Baiyun and forcefully hugged her. He looked up and his eyes flashed with a trace of anger. You have never done anything wrong to her, but she treated you like that in the wedding hall yesterday. She really is cruel and unscrupulous. This kind of cheap person, this king will find someone to ruthlessly teach her a lesson. Chen Baiyun leaned into his embrace and timidly said, Your Highness, no matter what, she is still this concubine's elder sister. No matter how she treats me, I will not hate her. I beg you, please consider that she is this concubine's elder sister and show mercy. No one could see the proud light flashing in her eyes. She knew that the more she said this, the angrier Chu Xiaoyang would become and the more merciless he would be. Sure enough, Chu Xiaoyang gently stroked her face and said in an affectionate voice, Yun, this king never thought that you two would be sisters. You are this gentle and kind, always thinking for others, but she is this kind of evil woman. She almost caused you to lose our child yesterday. You can be assured, this king will not give her a chance to bully you again. He looked up and coldly said, Send down the orders. The princess has secretly left the palace and has broken the family rules. Mother Lin will carry out the family rules on behalf of this king, immediately. Mother Lin. Hearing these 3 words, Chen Baiyun's eyes lit up. In order to become Chu Xiaoyang's princess, she had put in a lot of effort. She had already investigated all the people in the palace, so of course she knew what kind of person Mother Lin was. Leaning into Chu Xiaoyang's embrace, she gave a dark smile. Chen Ning, even if you don't die this time, you will still be skinned by that Mother Lin. Princess, this is bad. This servant has just heard that His Highness has sent Mother Lin to carry out the family rules on you. Xia he was truly a daughter of the king's palace, she was very well informed. Before Mother Lin even left, she had already heard the news and quickly came to report to Qin Ning. Mother Lin. Qin Ning casually raised her brows, who is she? She had just finished washing up and had not had time to eat breakfast when she heard the news from Xia he. Princess, have you never heard of Mother Lin's name? Xia He had a look of disbelief on her face. Is she a famous person? Chen Ning countered with a question. She did not know anything about the people in the King Dingyuan palace. From her name, she should be an old maid. It was not worth Xia He making a fuss about. When Xia He saw Chen Ning's casual appearance, she anxiously stomped her feet and said, Princess, you don't know this, but Mother Lin is His Highness nanny and also the steward of the palace. Everything in the palace is handled by her and even His Highness has to respect her. When she executes the family laws, she will not show any mercy. You should think of a way to avoid this, right? If you fall into Mother Lin's hands, even if you are the princess, she will not give you any face. She will definitely heavily punish you. Hearing this, Chen Ning smiled. She turned to Xiao Ru and said, Remember what I said last night. After beating a puppy, an old dog will come knocking. The smile on her face did not diminish as she softly said, This princess wants to meet this Mother Lin. I want to see what kind of family rules this king's palace has. Princess. Xia He prepared to persuade her again. Chapter 41. Where are the people in the yard? The old Mother Lin is already at the door. Why isn't she coming out to greet us? Are all of you blind and deaf? An arrogant and despotic voice came from the entrance of the courtyard. Xia He's face changed and she said in a low voice, This is bad, it's too late. Mother Lin is here and the one speaking is Mother Lin's most trusted aide, maidservant Feng. She is very ruthless, she is just like Mother Lin's dog. Her expression was filled with anger. When Chen Ning saw this, she knew that Xia He had suffered at maidservant Feng's hands. The door was suddenly pushed open and Chun Tao rushed in with a panicked expression. She shouted, Princess, this is bad. The palace's steward, Mother Lin, is here. She wants you to greet her. Hearing this, Chen Ning couldn't help smiling. This Mother Lin was truly arrogant. She was just Chu Xiaoyang's wet nurse. In terms of status, she was the servant and she was the master. She actually wanted the master's princess to greet the servant. This was truly laughable. It could be seen that no one in the King Dingyuan palace placed her, the princess, in their eyes. Very good, this was truly very good. Princess, Mother Lin has already arrived in the yard. You should go out and greet her. Chun Tao saw Chen Ning sitting in the chair without moving, so she couldn't help urging her in a small voice. As a servant of the king's palace, she naturally knew who she could not afford to offend. This Mother Lin was one of the people she could not afford to offend the most. If she dared to disrespect Mother Lin, she would not be able to live in the king's palace in the future. Chen Ning raised her brows. Not only did she not get up, she leaned back in the chair and lazily said, Mother Lin. Who does she think she is? If she tells this princess to go out, then wouldn't this princess lose face? Chun Tao and Xia He's faces turned white as they looked at Chen Ning with a look of horror. God, the princess actually dared to look down on Mother Lin. Was she trying to poke a hornet's nest? The carved window was half open and Chen Ning's voice was not low. It drifted out of the open window and entered the ears of the several maids in the yard. Mother Lin had received Chu Xiaoyang's orders and had brought several maids with her to enforce the family law. They were all very arrogant, not putting Chen Ning, this princess, in their eyes at all. They had thought that after Chen Ning heard the maid's report, she would obediently come out and let them deal with her, but who would have thought that she would say this? Maidservant Feng suspected that she had heard wrong. She couldn't help picking her ears and picking her ears. She couldn't help asking this question, but who would know what she said? The old maids all had strange expressions on their faces. One of them bravely said, that princess seemed to have said that Mother Lin is nobody. Mother Lin's face turned livid with anger. She slammed the cane in her hand onto the ground and shouted, "The person who farted in the room, come out now." She had been in the King Dingyuan palace for over 20 years, and from top to bottom, no one dared to be disrespectful to her. Even His Highness respected her, but today she had been looked down upon by a silly little girl. How could she not be angry? Chen Ning looked at her through the window and gave a laugh as she said, "There's someone farting outside and it's very smelly. This princess will not go out and smell the stench. Whoever farted, they should smell it themselves." After she said this, Xiaoru couldn't hold it in and began to giggle. She immediately realized that she had caused trouble and quickly covered her mouth. Chapter 42. Mother Lin's anger was not small at all. She did not have any expression on her face, but her eyebrows were tightly knit together and her eyes were sharp. The old maids around her immediately kept quiet out of fear. "Who is the servant that was sent to serve Wang Fei in this yard?" Mother Lin icily said. Chun Tao and Xia He, who were in the room, trembled at the same time. Their faces turned pale and their eyes were filled with fear. Reporting to Mother Lin, "It's Chun Tao and Xia He, the two servants." Maidservant Feng replied with a fawning expression. "Very good, the princess has just arrived and does not understand the rules of the palace. Could it be that these two lowly servants do not know how to teach the princess the rules? Chun Tao, Xia He, come out." Mother Lin's cane heavily slammed on the ground as she sternly shouted. She had been an old maid of the king's palace for many years. Of course she understood the principle of looking at the master before beating a dog. If the maids by her side were beaten, it was the same as slapping the master's face. It would make the master feel even more embarrassed. How could Chen Ning not understand her indirect scolding? But she just curled her lips into a smile and ignored it. Chun Tao and Xia He were trembling like a sieve. The two of them knew that once they left, they would be ruthlessly punished by the other maids. Under Mother Lin's rage, it was even possible that they would be beaten to death. But the two of them did not dare disobey because Mother Lin's words were like an imperial edict in the king's palace. No one dared to disobey. The two of them felt their legs go soft as they trembled as they walked out the door. Chun Tao, Xia He, stop right there. Chen Ning suddenly said in a cold voice. The two maids couldn't help stopping in their tracks. Did you forget what this princess just said yesterday? This princess said that you two are my people. In this king's palace, you will only listen to this princess' orders. Whatever stray cats or dogs call out to you, you will just treat them as farting. Chen Ning raised her hand and slammed it on the table. This slap was like a loud slap to the face. It landed on Mother Lin's old face and made her lips twitch. Stray cats and dogs. The princess was clearly pointing at the monk and calling her a bald donkey. She was so angry that her body began to tremble. Her eyes flashed with a fierce light as she pointed her cane at the door. Someone, drag out the little slut inside and heavily beat her. Her heart was already filled with a thick killing intent. She paused for a second and then coldly said, "The princess secretly left the palace and violated the family laws. His Highness has ordered this old servant to properly discipline the princess. This old servant does not dare disobey His Highness's orders, so this old servant will discipline the princess until she learns the rules." Her eyes swept over and all the maids understood. They knew what Mother Lin's words meant. Mother Lin. They did not have Mother Lin's words. Mother Lin's mothers. Mother. She was only following His Highness's orders. Even if he killed someone, it wouldn't be blamed on her. Because even if the sky collapsed, His Highness would support her. Yes. Over 10 maids held the family laws in their hands as they aggressively charged into the room. Seeing this, Chun Tao and Xia He's faces turned pale in fear. They couldn't help shrinking back. Only Xiao Ru, although she was afraid, still bravely stood in front of Qin Ning. "Bold servant, I want to see who dares to touch the princess." Her eyes popped out as she loudly shouted. "Scram for me." The maids were holding sticks, not putting Xiao Ru in their eyes at all. Chapter 43. Chun Tao and Xia He were also knocked to the ground by the maids. They held their heads as they rolled around on the ground. "Such big dog guts, daring to hit my people." Seeing Xiao Ru injured, the calm Qin Ning who had been sitting in the chair suddenly changed her expression. Her eyebrows jumped up and her eyes filled with anger. Her right hand grabbed the teapot on the table and threw it at the maid that had injured Xiao Ru. With a "paw" sound, it hit the maid's head. The teapot shattered and the hot tea that had just been brewed splashed everywhere. The maid screamed like a pig being slaughtered. "Ah! It's scalding me. My eyes. I can't see anything. Ah, 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 I'm blind, I'm blind." She cried out in panic. All the maids were shocked. Qin Ning did not even look at the maids. She lifted her right foot and stepped on the window sill. Her left foot followed and she jumped out of the window into the yard. Mother Lin was holding her crutches with an angry expression. Suddenly seeing Qin Ning jump out of the window, she couldn't help being stunned. Without waiting for her to react, Qin Ning had already slapped her across the face. "Paw!" Mother Lin felt her head go blank and her ears ring. It took a while before she could react. She seemed like she had been slapped in the face. This was impossible. One of Mother Lin's eyes was swollen from the slap. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she glared at Qin Ning. "Little slut, you dare hit me?" Qin Ning couldn't help feeling happy. This old dog's teeth were really hard. Even after being hit, she still didn't learn and was still scolding people. It seemed like she had been too light. "I'm going to beat you up, you old dog." Qin Ning giggled. She turned her hand and slapped the other side of Mother Lin's face. She had used a lot of strength in these two slaps. She wanted to give this arrogant Mother Lin a show of strength. If she did not subdue Mother Lin, she would not have a place in this palace in the future. Mother Lin was so angry that she began to tremble. She raised her crutches and smashed them down on Qin Ning's head. She had been in the king's palace for so many years, living like a princess. She had never been humiliated and beaten like this before. Qin Ning gave a gentle smile and effortlessly took the crutches from Mother Lin's hands. She swung it and hit Mother Lin's knee. Mother Lin immediately fell to her knees in front of Qin Ning. When the maids that had rushed out of the room saw this scene, they all sucked in a cold breath. God! Were their eyes playing tricks on them? This idiot princess dared to hit Mother Lin. Was she rebelling against the heavens? Qin Ning placed her cane on Mother Lin's shoulder, making her kneel on the ground. At the same time, she had a faint smile on her face as she looked at the shocked maids. Mother Lin's swollen face turned purple. She said in a low voice, "Princess, today's debt, this old servant will remember it." Her voice was filled with a strong sense of threat. "Princess, this old servant will remember this debt." Lin's mother's face turned into a fat bun. "Little slut, you dare hit Mother Lin, you must be tired of living." Maidservant Feng pointed at Qin Ning's nose and began to scold her. Her words and expression did not have any respect for Qin Ning at all. She raised the stick in her hand and was the first to charge at Qin Ning. Because in her eyes, Qin Ning was no different than a dead person. She had hit Mother Lin, which was equal to slapping His Highness' face. His Highness would never forgive her. The maids finally reacted and raised their sticks to charge at Qin Ning. "Stop!" If anyone dares take another step forward, I'll dig out that old dog's eye. Chapter 44. Although Chen Ning had learned grappling techniques in the modern era, it was hard for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. She was alone against over 10 maids with sticks in their hands, so she definitely would not be able to win. She would definitely not do something like taking a loss in front of her eyes. To catch the bandits, first catch the leader. She understood this more than anyone else. So she didn't pay attention to the other maids and jumped out of the window to find Mother Lin, the leader. Sure enough, they were afraid of harming her. Seeing Mother Lin being restrained by Chen Ning and Chen Ning's cold and murderous expression, all the maids stopped moving. They stared at her in a daze, not daring to make a move. Little slut, let go of Mother Lin. If she loses a single hair, I'll make sure you won't be able to bear the consequences. Maidservant Feng yelled out. She had followed Mother Lin in calling her little slut, so she had already gotten used to it. He. Chen Ning raised her brows and smiled. She turned to look at Mother Lin. You keep talking about the rules, but your servants don't seem to understand the rules at all. Mother Lin, tell me. Offending one's superior and insulting the princess, according to the rules, how should they be punished? Mother Lin's heart was filled with hatred. She gave a heavy snort and closed her mouth, not replying. She did not believe that Chen Ning would dare do anything to her, unless the other side was tired of living. Only then would they dare to pluck her tiger's butt. Chen Ning smiled and said, Is Mother Lin not replying because you don't want to? Or do you not know the rules? All right, if you don't reply, I'll find someone who understands the rules to tell you. Xia He. She raised her voice and shouted. Xia He subconsciously replied, This servant is here. When she and Chun Tao saw this scene, they were already shocked to the point that their souls had left their bodies. The 2 of them never would have dreamed that there would be someone in the king's palace that dared to scold Mother Lin and even dared to make Mother Lin kneel in front of her. The princess consort's aura was truly admirable. Tell them, offending one's superior and insulting one's master, how should they be punished? Xia He pursed her lips and timidly looked at Mother Lin. She did not dare reply, but when she saw Mother Lin's dark gaze, she steeled her heart and loudly said, reporting to the princess consort, they should be slapped. She knew that the result would be the same whether she said it or not. Mother Lin already hated them to the bone. Since she couldn't escape, she might as well cooperate with the princess consort. Very good. Chen Ning nodded at Xia He in satisfaction. This girl dared to step forward at this critical moment, she had not misjudged her. Chen Ning smiled as she looked at Mother Lin. Mother Lin, your servant has spoken rudely and insulted this princess, so this princess will not teach anyone else a lesson today. I will only teach you a lesson. You are the steward of the palace, but the servants under you don't even know the rules. Then let this princess teach them what rules are. You. Mother Lin rolled her eyes at Chen Ning's words. The other side kept talking about rules, using her words to block her mouth, not letting her say a single word. Xia He, come over and give her a heavy slap on the mouth. Xia He was shocked. She opened her eyes wide in disbelief and said in a surprised voice, Princess consort. Slap Mother Lin's mouth. How could she have the courage to do that? What, you don't dare? Chen Ning's lips slightly curled. This servant will obey. Xia He gritted her teeth and walked forward, raising her hand. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.